Chapter 877. Zheng Suyu regains consciousness. _5. Because Zheng Suyu's condition was very bad. So, the next day Anai Yang began to prepare to use the Ghost Gate 13 needles. Ghost Gate 13 needles involved not only medical problems but also metaphysical issues. Anai Yang had looked up quite a bit of material during this time and found that many people had suffered the backlash of the Ghost Gate 13 needles. Only people blessed with continuous fortune could perform the needling. After her resurrection, Anai Yang had once saved 2 people's lives. Before her resurrection, she was also charitable, having supported many orphanages and impoverished regions, using her medical skills to treat many people. She should be considered a person with blessings. Anai Yang prepared all the tools and then said to the elders Zheng at her side, "Grandpa, Grandma, I am going to perform acupuncture on Great Aunt now. Please leave for a while and during this time don't let anyone in." The Ghost Gate 13 needles were most taboo against disturbances from outsiders. Elder Zheng nodded his head. "Okay, Yang, you do the acupuncture with peace of mind. Your grandma and I will stand guard outside the door and we won't let anyone come in." "It's hard on you and Grandma. It's what we should do." As long as his sister Zheng Suyu could get better, Elder Zheng was willing to do anything. Elder Zheng left with Elder Mrs. Zheng, and in the blink of an eye, only Anai Yang and Zheng Suyu, who was lying in bed, were left in the room. Anai Yang first took out her self-made ointment. The ointment was light yellow, not smelling of medicine but rather of a faint fragrance of flowers. This was an ointment Anai Yang had made from gathering various flowers, along with Solomon's seal and fleeceflower root, specially for Zheng Suyu's illness. According to ancient texts, using this ointment while performing the Ghost Gate 13 needles would produce twice the effect with half the effort. Anai Yang dabbed a bit of ointment with her finger and then slowly twirled it onto the tip of the needle. A total of 13 gold needles. They corresponded to Rinzhong Acupoint, Shaoshang Acupoint, Yinbai Acupoint, Daling Acupoint, Shinmai Acupoint, Fengfu Acupoint, Jiacha Acupoint, Qingjiang Acupoint, Laogong Acupoint, Shangxing Acupoint, and Huyin Acupoint. Under normal circumstances only 1 needle could be used per day, but Zheng Suyu's condition was very bad right now, so Anai Yang had to take the risk of completing all 13 needles in 1 day. The ancient texts recorded, "For illnesses caused by 100 demons running wild, there are 13 acupoints that must be known. Always start with Ghost Palace, then proceed with Ghost Trust and all will answer." First needle Rinzhong, second Shaoshang. This first needle required extreme caution upon caution. Moreover, the layout of the Ghost Gate 13 needles was different from ordinary acupuncture. The method for the first needle was, diagonally insert the needle from the bottom up, 3 to 5 fen deep. If it exceeded 5 centimeters, the accuracy of the subsequent 12 needles would be for naught, even if they were precisely placed. Anai Yang sat in front of the window, slowly angled the gold needle into the Rinzhong acupoint, gently twirling it. The next second she suddenly let go. The depth of the needle was exactly 5 centimeters. Anai Yang immediately picked up the second gold needle. Then the third needle, the fourth needle. Minutes and seconds passed, the cool breeze wafted through the room, yet beads of sweat still appeared on Anai Yang's forehead. No wonder the ancient text said that the Ghost Gate 13 needles were extremely sinister, where only 1 needle could be used per day, and at most not more than 3 needles. Anai Yang had only inserted 6 needles and already felt that her physical strength was almost at its limit. Anai Yang steadied her spirit, then picked up the 7th needle. The 7th needle was Jiacha Acupoint. The needling method was to pierce directly from outside to inside to a depth of 1.5 centimeters. 1.5 centimeters was a bit difficult to judge by the naked eye, especially under Anai Yang's current state of fatigue. Anai Yang squinted her eyes, swiftly and accurately inserted the needle into the Jiacha Acupoint, exactly 1.5 centimeters, not a fraction more or less. For the following 6 needles, Anai Yang did not encounter any problems. During this time, Zheng Lingling came once, saw the door tightly closed, and seeing Elder Zheng and Elder Mrs. Zheng guarding the door with grave faces, she asked, "Dad, Mom, what's going on?" Elder Zheng was not in the mood to talk, his brow deeply furrowed. Elder Mrs. Zheng concisely explained the situation. Zheng Lingling felt panicked inside, wondering if Zheng Suyu was really going to wake up. This couldn't be. She had to get ready. "I was originally planning to come and see Aunt Suyu, but since Yang is performing acupuncture on her inside right now, I won't disturb them." With that, Zheng Lingling turned and walked downstairs. After descending the stairs, she secretly called Dr. Jiang. Approximately 3 hours later, the room door opened. A large beam of sunlight shone in from outside the door, dispelling the gloom inside the room, and lighting Ni Yang's pale face almost to transparency. Chapter 878, Zheng Suyu is awake. _6. The 13 ghostly needles had drained her of too much energy. She was too tired now. Seeing Ni Yang like this, the elderly Mrs. Zheng was startled. Yang, are you all right? The elderly Mr. Zheng was also deeply frightened and quickly instructed the servants. Hurry and call the doctor. No need, Ni Yang rubbed her temples. Don't call the doctor, I'm fine. Grandma, you should go in and check on Aunt Suyu. After all, as someone who had been reborn, Ni Yang didn't take this slight fatigue to heart. Has your aunt awakened? Mr. Zheng asked. Ni Yang nodded, yes. Mr. and Mrs. Zheng, brimming with excitement, hurried into the house. Just then, Zheng Lingling came upstairs from below and upon hearing this, excitedly said, Has Aunt Suyu awakened? Oh Yang, you are really amazing. Zheng Lingling followed Mr. and Mrs. Zheng into the house. Inside, Zheng Suyu had indeed woken up. She was sitting up in bed, her gaze no longer as empty and lifeless as before but filled with a touch of sadness and sorrow. Mrs. Zheng's eyes instantly turned red. Suyu? You're better now, aren't you? You're back, aren't you? Zheng Suyu looked at the elderly Mrs. Zheng in front of her, first stunned, then perplexed. Old lady, who are you? Mrs. Zheng's eyes widened, unbelievingly staring at Zheng Suyu. Suyu, don't you remember who I am? Zheng Suyu shook her head. And me? Suyu, do you remember who I am? Mr. Zheng leaned in close to Zheng Suyu. Zheng Suyu stared intently at Mr. Zheng, surprised. Brother. You're my brother. Brother. How did you become like this? In her memory, her brother was very handsome. Even in middle age he was still vibrant. The elderly man in front of her, bent over, his face full of wrinkles, his hair completely white, was vastly different from the brother in her memory. Suyu. Mr. Zheng could no longer restrain himself and embraced Zheng Suyu. Brother, what happened to you? Are you sick? For a moment, Mr. Zheng released Zheng Suyu, his eyes red as he looked at Ni Yang. Yang, what happened to your aunt? Ni Yang continued. During the acupuncture, there was a rejection reaction, causing Aunt Suyu to lose her memories of the past 30 years. So, the way she remembers you is still from 30 years ago. Zheng Suyu seemed confused by Ni Yang's words. Brother, who is she? Suyu, this is Tingting's daughter called Yang, Mr. Zheng said. Tingting. Zheng Suyu thought for a moment. Wasn't Tingting lost? Has she been found again? Seeing his sister truly recover, Mr. Zheng was overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down his face. We found her, Suyu, we have already found Tingting. Zheng Suyu had just woken up and everything felt cloudy and unclear. Her past was all very vague. Like a dream. Zheng Lingling got closer and said to Zheng Suyu, Aunt Suyu, do you remember me? I'm Lingling. I have a daughter named Xianjing. When she was little, you used to hold her often. Lingling? This voice sounded like an incantation, and the scene in front of her began to merge with a scene in her mind. Zheng Suyu's pupils constricted. Suyu, you finally woke up, do you remember me? I am Jiang Yan. The doctor entered from outside. Zheng Lingling, Jiang Yan. Tears welled up in Zheng Suyu's eyes in that instant. She remembered everything. At that moment, Dr. Jiang hugged Zheng Suyu tightly and choked out, Suyu, you finally woke up. Finally woke up. That's wonderful. I knew Yang would definitely find a way to cure you. Zheng Suyu's entire body trembled as if she had fallen into an ice cellar. Just as Zheng Suyu was about to push Dr. Jiang away, Dr. Jiang held her tightly, his gaze gradually turning cold and in a very low voice said, Do you remember that poor child? Poor child? What child? Ni Yang subtly moved her ear and clearly caught this phrase. She knew something was not right with Dr. Jiang. It seemed that the matter would have to start with this child. She must not spook anyone for now. Ni Yang narrowed her eyes, a sharp gleam reflecting in them. Normally, such a quiet voice would be inaudible to ordinary people, but Ni Yang was no ordinary person. Ever since her rebirth and saving lives, her senses had been several times more acute than those of an average person. After hearing this, Zheng Suyu's tightly clenched fist gradually relaxed, her blood seemed to flow backward, she bit her teeth tightly, almost unable to control herself and muttered with her head down, I don't remember, I've forgotten you. Dr. Jiang's eyes reddened. How can you just forget like that? Suyu, I am Jiang Yin, you used to call me Xiaoyan. I don't remember. Zheng Suyu pulled the blanket around her and shrank back. Suyu, take a good look at me. Aunt Suyu patted Dr. Jiang on the shoulder. Suyu has even forgotten me, it's normal for her to forget you too as long as she is alright, that's all that matters. Dr. Jiang wiped away his tears looking at Zheng Suyu. Ching is right, as long as she is alright, that's what matters. We can think about the rest slowly. I believe one day you will remember me. Next, Aunt Suyu introduced Ni Yang and Zheng Lingling to Zheng Suyu and mentioned the events that had happened over the years in the Zheng family. Suyu, Tingting and her husband De Hui have gone to her husband's family. I have already sent someone to notify them. They will come back tonight. Zheng Suyu nodded. I would like to rest now. You all should leave. Dr. Jiang said with concern. Suyu, then rest well. I will come see you tomorrow. Aunt Suyu sighed, somewhat worriedly said, Suyu, then we will leave first, but if you need anything or remember anything, make sure to call us. Zheng Suyu said nothing more, lay down and covered her head with the blanket. It seemed like she was avoiding something. After everyone left, Zheng Suyu hid under the blankets and soon low sobs could be heard from within the blanket. Constrained and oppressive. Downstairs, Dr. Jiang greeted Aunt Suyu with a smile. Ching, I always said your granddaughter is smart. I treated Suyu for so many years without results, but as soon as Yang Yang stepped in, Suyu woke up. Aunt Suyu too smiled broadly. Her daughter was found and Zheng Suyu had awoken. She had no regrets left in this life. Chapter 879. Cunning Yang Yang. Grandma Zheng said with a smile. This child is indeed clever, certainly smarter than this old lady. It's our family's good fortune from the past life to have such a wonderful granddaughter. Zheng Lingling looked at Ni Yang, her features nearly contorting with jealousy and anger. Ni Yang had become a treasure, while Zheng Xianjing was now mere grass. Who in the vast Zheng family even remembered Zheng Xianjing now? Before Ni Yang's arrival, Zheng Xianjing was the only granddaughter of the Zheng family, a master in music, chess, calligraphy and painting, and a famous socialite within their circles. After the last birthday banquet, however, Zheng Xianjing had become a laughingstock. It was Ni Yang who had stolen everything from Zheng Xianjing. Had it not been for Ni Yang, Zheng Xianjing would still be the sole heir to the Zheng family. Now Zheng Lingling wished she could just strangle Ni Yang. Dr. Jiang was right, the most difficult person to deal with in the Zheng family was Ni Yang. Ni Yang, seeming young, actually had a high level of cunning, more difficult to deal with than 100 Ni Quihuas. Without Ni Yang, Ni Tsuehua wouldn't even be able to stand a chance against the Zheng family. Ni Yang felt a bit dizzy and stood up, saying, Grandpa, Grandma, I'm feeling a bit lightheaded, he'll go upstairs to rest for a while. Old Master Zheng hurriedly stood up, saying, Of course, go ahead and we'll call you when it's time to eat. Ni Yang nodded and walked upstairs. The 13 ghost needles were very draining, and Ni Yang almost fell asleep as soon as she lay down on the bed. Dr. Jiang didn't stay long at the Zheng families either, chatted with Grandma Zheng for a while and then left. Just as Dr. Jiang got home, Zheng Lingling and Sun Wu showed up right on her heels. Now that Zheng Suyu had awoken, Zheng Lingling was of course anxious. And she wasn't the only anxious one, Sun Wu was too. Sun Wu had lived more than 20 years of good life, and if Zheng Suyu spilled everything without the big tree of the Zheng family to lean on, what would become of him? Would he have to go back to facing the cold winds of the northwest? Dr. Jiang looked at Zheng Lingling, slightly surprised. Why are you here? Zheng Lingling placed her bag on the coffee table. Aunt Jiang, as you've seen, Aunt Suyu's condition is worrying. What do we do now? We can't just sit around and wait for death, can we? Dr. Jiang poured Zheng Lingling a glass of water. We've gotten through many years, what's the rush? Where did Zheng Lingling have the mind to drink water now? Holding the cup she said, Aunt Jiang, I think Aunt Suyu seems to have realized something. If this continues and she recalls everything one day, we're all finished. The more Zheng Lingling thought about it, the more panicked she became, her face turning pale with fear. You're not wrong, Dr. Jiang nodded. Zheng Suyu has indeed recovered all her memories. Even Dr. Jiang hadn't expected Ni Yang's medical skills to be so proficient, enough even to cure Zheng Suyu's hysteria. From the beginning she hadn't underestimated Ni Yang, only to find she had still underestimated her in the end. Ni Yang was even more formidable than she had imagined. Crash. The cup in Zheng Lingling's hand fell directly to the ground, shattering into pieces. Suyu, Aunt Suyu really remembered everything? Really? Before Dr. Jiang could finish her sentence, Sun Wu sprang up from the sofa. It's over. We're done for. We need to flee right now. Is that really all the backbone you have? Dr. Jiang looked at Sun Wu, speaking sternly. Running away is the most cowardly solution. After all these years of hard work at the Zheng family, do you really want to end up as street rats that everyone wants to bash? With that said, Dr. Jiang turned to look at Zheng Lingling. And you? Lingling, you've been with the Zheng family for 35 years, and Xianjing is already 21. How can you still be like before, making no progress at all? Losing your head over a little trouble. With this attitude of yours, how do you expect to push out an Yang and become the matriarch of the Zheng family? Dr. Jiang was smiling as she said this, but Zheng Lingling saw no warmth in that smile. Zheng Lingling opened her mouth, then continued, "So what should I do?" Zheng Suyu had already awakened, and those dark secrets would inevitably surface one day. For Zheng Lingling, the current Zheng Suyu was like a time bomb, capable of detonation at any moment. She wasn't Dr. Jiang, she didn't have such a strong heart. "Don't worry," Dr. Jiang took a syringe out of the medicine box, squeezing out the excess air inside. "Zheng Suyu won't dare to speak carelessly." Seeing Dr. Jiang like this, a sudden thought seemed to strike Zheng Lingling. "Right, there's also that child." As she spoke, she continued, "But what about an Yang? An Yang is so clever, she will definitely notice something." Chapter 880, Cunning Yang Understood. Dr. Jiang laughed, then plunged the cold syringe directly into his own arm, slowly pushing the plunger as the transparent liquid seeped into his vein. "Then let's make her the second Zheng Suyu." "The second Zheng Suyu?" Sun Wu's eyes lit up. "That's a good idea. It saves me from having to look at their family of 4, which I find so unpleasant." Before Shangguan Dehui arrived, Sun Wu was the only son-in-law of Master Zheng and Madame Zheng. Now, with Shangguan Dehui around, who was capable and ambitious, Sun Wu distinctly felt a change in Master Shangguan and Madame Shangguan's attitude towards him. Zheng Lingling frowned. "It's easier said than done. An Yang is not Zheng Suyu, someone we can easily manipulate." Dr. Jiang opened his eyes. "You think Zheng Suyu was a pushover?" Before this, Zheng Suyu was known throughout Beijing as the talented woman of Beijing. Back in the day, Zheng Suyu enjoyed limitless prestige. And in the end, she still ended up as the crazy old woman that everyone despised. The difference between a talented woman and a mad woman is but a single thought. "So what do you plan to do?" Zheng Lingling looked at Dr. Jiang. "Let the most harmless person in the Zheng family do it," Dr. Jiang said. Zheng Lingling narrowed her eyes. "Are you referring to Aunt Suyu?" Dr. Jiang laughed outright. "Lingling, you've finally caught on for once. Will she listen to you?" Zheng Lingling countered. Dr. Jiang said, "I can't frequent the Zheng household, so you need to handle this. Strike the snake at its weakest spot, and now Zheng Suyu's weakest spot is that child." Sun Wu said, "But that child isn't—" "Shut up." Dr. Jiang directly interrupted Sun Wu before he could finish. Sun Wu quickly shut his mouth. Zheng Lingling nodded. "I think I know what to do." "Here, take this." Dr. Jiang handed Zheng Lingling a white glass bottle. Before Zheng Lingling could speak, Dr. Jiang continued, "This liquid is colorless and tasteless. Give it to Zheng Suyu, I believe she will find a way to make an Yang drink it." "Okay." Zheng Lingling reached out and took the glass bottle. Dr. Jiang added, "An Yang is a doctor herself and much more sensitive to medications than most people. Tell Zheng Suyu to make an Yang drink it in 3 separate doses." Zheng Lingling nodded and then said, "Zheng Suyu recovered from a severe illness before, what if this medicine has no effect on an Yang?" Dr. Jiang looked at Zheng Lingling and countered, "Lingling, do you know who the safest person in this world is?" Zheng Lingling paused, not catching on. Dr. Jiang continued, "The dead are the safest in this world." Realizing the deeper meaning in Dr. Jiang's words, Zheng Lingling's face turned pale with fright. "Do we really have to do this?" Although Zheng Lingling also wished for An Yang to die, she was more afraid of going to jail. The consequences would be unimaginable if this were to be discovered. This was also why she had never truly acted against the old Zheng couple. Patting Zheng Lingling's shoulder, Dr. Jiang reassured, "To prevent an accident like what happened to Zheng Suyu, we have no choice but to do this. Lingling, don't let being too kind become your greatest weakness. If you had been decisive earlier instead of being indecisive, things wouldn't have ended up like this. Now you only have 2 choices. Either An Yang dies or your whole family perishes." Zheng Lingling was ashen. Sun Wu, usually a docile man, was not afraid at all. "Aunt Jiang is right. Lingling, you have always been too indecisive. If we had taken care of those 2 old folks back then, where would An Yang, that little wench, get the chance to cause trouble?" Zheng Lingling's legs trembled. "This way we will end up in jail." Seeing Zheng Lingling's hesitant demeanor, Dr. Jiang became somewhat irritated. Dr. Jiang snatched the glass bottle from Zheng Lingling's hand. "If you are too scared, then let's forget about this. After all, you are not a blood relative of the Zheng family. Let the Zheng fortune go to Zheng Tingting and an Yang." Sun Wu quickly interjected, Aunt Jiang, Please don't be angry. Lingling is just confused momentarily. Zheng Lingling stood there stunned. With Sun Wu's persuasion, Dr. Jiang's expression finally softened a bit, and then he said, with Zheng Suyu taking the heat up front, what are you afraid of? Following Dr. Jiang's lead, Sun Wu said, Lingling and Jiang is right. Even if things are exposed later, there's still that crazy woman Zheng Suyu. What are you scared of? It's not you who is poisoning N.I. Yang. Chapter 881, Cunning Yang Yang _3. If, there are no ifs. Dr. Jiang impatiently interrupted Zheng Lingling's words. Lingling, do you think you'll be safe if you don't do this? Have you forgotten what you've done before? If N.I. Yang finds out about those things, wouldn't even one of them be enough to put you behind bars? Zheng Lingling was stunned again. Dr. Jiang sighed deeply, speaking earnestly, Lingling, it hasn't been easy for us to get to this point. I don't want you to give up the glory and wealth before your eyes so easily, letting it fall into someone else's hands. The hardships of over 30 years of wind and rain, only those who've experienced it could truly understand. Sun Wu quickly said, even for Xianjing's sake we have to fight. Xianjing is used to living as a wealthy lady, going from luxury to frugality is hard. If she loses the Zheng family, how will she live in the future? Are you willing to let N.I. Yang take away everything that belongs to Xianjing? Unwilling. How could Zheng Lingling be willing to let N.I. Yang take away what belonged to Zheng Xianjing? Aunt Jiang. Zheng Lingling looked up at Dr. Jiang. He'll listen to you. Dr. Jiang nodded in satisfaction. I'm old, wealth and power are fleeting to me. I'm doing all this for your family of 3 Lingling. While we still have a hold over Zheng Suyu's Achilles heel, you must seize this opportunity. Understood, I appreciate all your hard work. Zheng Lingling nodded. Meanwhile, N.I. Yang had been asleep for over 2 hours, and by the time she woke up, it had already grown dark outside the window. After sleeping, N.I. Yang felt much better. She washed her face in the restroom and changed into clean clothes. As N.I. Yang was about to head downstairs, there was a knock at the door. Yang. It was N.I. Huihua's voice. N.I. Yang went to open the door. Mom, when did you come back? N.I. Huihua was holding a tray with slices of bread and milk. I've been home for a while. Dinner won't be for a bit, have some bread to tide you over. N.I. Yang picked up the bread and milk, then asked, did you visit Grandma? I did, N.I. Huihua nodded. Grandma doesn't seem to be doing very well. N.I. Yang frowned subtly. Is Zheng Lingling home? You child, how can you call her by name like that? N.I. Huihua continued, it would sound so bad if others heard it. While Zheng Lingling was indeed acting duplicitously, she hadn't openly made things difficult for N.I. Yang. In the eyes of others, she was still a good aunt. If someone overheard N.I. Yang calling Zheng Lingling by name, they might misjudge her as an ingrate. N.I. Yang knew N.I. Huihua's concerns and said with a smile, don't worry, I was just saying it behind her back, no one will hear. When I got back I didn't see her. Not just her, Sun Wu wasn't home either. Zheng Suyu had just woken up the second before, and this couple had disappeared right afterward. It was almost impossible not to suspect something. Where did they go? N.I. Yang took a sip of milk. I don't know, N.I. Huihua shook her head. Mom, have you noticed anything strange about Zheng Lingling and Dr. Jiang? N.I. Yang continued. What do you mean? N.I. Huihua asked. Just very strange. N.I. Yang finished her last sip of milk, then said, Mom, let's go visit Grandma. Okay, N.I. Huihua nodded. The mother and daughter left the room and headed toward Zheng Suyu's room. N.I. Huihua reached out to knock on the door. Aunt Suyu, it's Tingting, may I come in? I'm very tired, let's talk about it tomorrow. Zheng Suyu's voice came from inside. N.I. Huihua looked up at N.I. Yang. N.I. Yang shook her head. Let's leave it for now. It was too soon to rush things with Zheng Suyu just waking up. The mother and daughter headed downstairs. As they descended, they saw Zheng Lingling and Sun Wu returning home with Zheng Xianjing. Seeing Zheng Xianjing, old lady Zheng exclaimed in surprise. Xianjing, weren't you supposed to have classes today? Why have you come back now? I was fetched by my mom and dad, said Zheng Xianjing. I heard Grandma woke up, is it true? This explained why Zheng Lingling and Sun Wu had vanished as soon as Zheng Suyu woke up. N.I. Yang's lips curled subtly. This couple still had some brains. No wonder there's a saying in detective studies, those who seem the most normal are often the most abnormal. Chapter 882, Cunning Yang Yang _4. From an outsider's perspective, this family of 3 had nothing remarkable about them. The husband was honest and unassuming, almost without presence. The wife was adept in socializing and took great care of the elderly. Their daughter was bright and generous, an outstanding student at a well-known university. What could possibly be wrong with such a family? Mrs. Jing nodded and said with a smile, "It's true." Xianjing said excitedly, "That's wonderful. I'm going to go up and see Great Aunt right now." Having said that, Xianjing rushed upstairs without delay. Not long after, Xianjing came back downcast. Great Aunt said she's very tired and wants to rest some more. Mrs. Jing smiled and said, "As long as you have this filial heart, it will be the same if you visit your Great Aunt tomorrow." Xianjing nodded. At mealtime, Suyu didn't come down. Mrs. Zheng instructed a servant to take the food up to Suyu. And Yang stood up and said, "I'll go." With that, she took the platter from the servant's hand and headed upstairs. Upon reaching Suyu's door, Yang knocked. After a while, Suyu's voice came from inside, "Who is it?" Yang said, "Great Aunt, I've brought you something to eat. I'm coming in." Yang turned the doorknob and entered. Suyu wasn't lying in bed but was sitting at the dressing table. Reflected in the vanity mirror was a face worn with the marks of time. "Great Aunt, it's time to eat." Yang set the dishes on the table. "Grandma says these are all your old favorites. Please come and see if they suit your taste." Suyu turned and walked over. "You're Tingting's child, Yang? MHM." Yang nodded, "Yes, it's me." Suyu smiled, her eyes inscrutable with either sorrow or joy. "When I was still lucid, Tingting was just a child. In the blink of an eye, her child is all grown up. It's like a dream." Yang spoke softly, "Malarial vapors rise like fire and time speeds like a carriage. Decades pass in a flash and seen from another perspective, life is but a dream." Suyu gave her an astonished look. Yang, I heard it was you who cured me." Yang didn't deny it but simply nodded. "Thank you," Suyu said, then added, "Have a seat yourself." Yang sat down on the stool. "Great Aunt, there have been many changes outside over the years. How about I take you out for a walk tomorrow?" Suyu shook her head. "No need." "Are you avoiding something?" Yang asked bluntly. Suyu's hand holding the chopsticks paused. "After raving mad for so many years, what could I possibly be avoiding? I just don't want to go out, that's all." "Like that child?" Yang said in a measured tone. Suyu abruptly put down her chopsticks, her eyes reddening as she said, "What are you talking about?" Yang looked at Suyu. "Great Aunt, rest assured, I'm not colluding with Dr. Jiang. I'm here to help you. Please tell me what exactly happened 30 years ago." From the current situation, it was clear that Suyu was the only one who knew the truth. "I don't know what you're talking about." Suyu picked up her chopsticks again and continued to mechanically feed herself. Yang continued, "Great Aunt, is the state you're in now the work of Dr. Jiang and Zheng Lingling? My grandma has been good to them already, why would they do this?" Suyu didn't respond to Yang's words. "If you don't answer, I will take it as your agreement," Yang pressed on. "Who is that child? Just give me a little clue and I'm sure I can uncover the whole truth." Suyu remained silent, like a machine devoid of emotion, just eating. Yang frowned slightly and decided to use a different tactic. Judging by Suyu's reactions, what she cared about most was that child. Staying silent won't solve anything and might even harm that child. Don't tell me you're willing to watch that child meet with misfortune. From what I understand, neither Zheng Lingling nor Dr. Jiang is known for their compassion. Just then, Suyu hurriedly finished the rice in her bowl, looked up at Yang and said, "I don't understand what you're saying." "What child?" "I don't know anything. I need to rest now. Please leave." "Great Aunt, are you sure you don't want to say anything? I know that you're starting to recover your memories." "There's nothing to say." Suyu pushed Yang towards the door. "I don't understand anything you're saying." Chapter 883, Cunning Yang_5. "You're gambling with that child's life." Yang continued, "People like Dr. Jiang and Zheng Lingling, they have no credibility." Zheng Suyu pushed Yang outside and with a thud closed the door. Yang didn't say anything more, fearing that the noise here might attract the attention of Zheng Lingling downstairs. Zheng Suyu was far more stubborn than she had imagined. Inside the room, Zheng Suyu leaned against the door and began to weep. In the evening, Yang knocked on old Madame Zheng's door. "Yang." Old Madame Zheng looked at Yang with some surprise. Yang smiled and said, "I've come to bring you and Grandpa some nourishing tea." Old Madame Zheng said, Come in. Your grandpa isn't in the room." "Where did Grandpa go?" Yang asked. Old Madame Zheng casually closed the door. He went to talk with your great-aunt to see if she can remember anything. And Yang set the tray down on the table and then said, Grandma, I came over to talk to you about great-aunt's situation. Hearing this, old Madame Zheng became very anxious. What's wrong? Is there something the matter with your great-aunt? And Yang shook her head. No, don't worry. That's good. Old Madame Zheng sighed in relief. The granddaughter and grandmother sat down on the sofa. Old Madame Zheng took a sip of the nourishing tea and smiled. This tea is good, very refreshing and without a medicinal taste, which I hate the most in teas. Upon finishing, old Madame Zheng continued, Yang, you just mentioned something about your great-aunt? And Yang followed up, Great-aunt has regained her memory. Old Madame Zheng straightened up in shock. Really? And Yang nodded. She's just afraid to admit it. Old Madame Zheng found this somewhat confusing. Why wouldn't she admit it? Because there's someone in the family threatening her, and Yang said. Old Madame Zheng frowned slightly. Someone in the family threatening her? Who would threaten your great-aunt? And Yang didn't hide it and directly said, I suspect it has to do with Dr. Jiang and Auntie. Dr. Jiang? Zheng Lingling? Old Madame Zheng was stunned for a moment. These two people, one had been her close friend for over 30 years, and the other was the daughter she had raised for over 30 years. Yang, how can you say that? And Yang explained the situation with the child to old Madame Zheng. Grandma, I heard it very clearly at the time, it was Dr. Jiang threatening great-aunt, which is why she's afraid to admit she has regained her memory. Child? Old Madame Zheng's brows furrowed deeply. Yang, is it possible you heard wrong? Your great-aunt is still unmarried, how could she have a child? And why would Dr. Jiang threaten your great-aunt? What would their motive be for such actions? For a moment, old Madame Zheng struggled to believe Yang's words. In her view, Zheng Lingling and Dr. Jiang had no motive to do such things. Perhaps Yang had misunderstood. Yang said, because great-aunt knows some unspeakable secrets. Grandma, do you still remember when you and Grandpa were poisoned before? Old Madame Zheng understood the implication of Yang's words, but as you said, it could have also been caused by a reaction between food and medication. She couldn't believe that Zheng Lingling would poison her. Impossible. Zheng Lingling couldn't be that heartless. Over 30 years of mother-daughter affection wasn't fake. In this world, no mother would suspect her own daughter, even if that daughter wasn't her biological child. Grandma, I know you're a very kind person, but your kindness doesn't mean everyone is as kind as you, and Yang continued. Some people must be guarded against. Don't you find it strange how you and Grandpa fell ill before? Dr. Jiang is a doctor. It would be too easy for her to do something without making a sound. Old Madame Zheng sighed and followed up. Yang, I know your aunt can be a bit selfish sometimes, but her nature isn't bad, she's just a bit greedy. She's just covetous of the Zheng family's wealth. Actually, when I suspected that your mother was Tingting, I had 2 paternity tests done, and one of them was swapped by your aunt. Although old Madame Zheng hadn't spelled it out, she was well aware. At this moment, old Madame Zheng never imagined that the daughter she viewed as only slightly greedy was the one who would plunge the Zheng family into irrecoverable ruin. Chapter 884, Cunning Yang_6. People die for money, birds die for food. Your aunt feared the Zheng family's estate would all be taken by your mother. I understood this, so I prepared my will early, splitting the Zheng family's estate evenly between your aunt and your mom. Though your aunt is not my biological child, I have never treated her differently. And Yang looked up at Grandma Zheng. Grandma, you are a good mother, but she might not be a good daughter. With that, Yang continued, I even suspect that Aunt Suyu's hysteria might be related to them as well. Having said this much, Yang didn't want to keep hiding things from Grandma Zheng. Lest when the truth emerged, Grandma Zheng couldn't accept the reality. That won't be the case. Grandma Zheng shook her head. Yang, you're not a detective, you must be mistaken. Grandma, how about we make a bet? Yang proposed. A bet on what? Grandma Zheng asked. On whether Dr. Jiang and Aunt Suyu are the masterminds behind this. Yang said every word very seriously. Grandma Zheng smiled. Yang, you're really overthinking. I can vouch for my integrity that Dr. Jiang and your aunt aren't those kinds of people. Yang slightly curled her lips. Grandma, the day when everything becomes clear hasn't come yet, it's too early to say that now. Grandma Zheng looked at Yang. Yang, do you know how many years I've known Dr. Jiang? 35 years. Ever since she came back to Beijing across the Pacific Ocean with your aunt, I knew Dr. Jiang is a good person. And your aunt, I raised her myself. I know very well what kind of person she is. She could never do something so utterly heartless. For a full 35 years, Grandma Zheng couldn't believe that human nature could be so malicious. Nor could she believe that she had 2 wolves in sheep's clothing by her side. With that, Grandma Zheng continued, Yang, as you said, Dr. Jiang is a doctor. If she wanted to do something, it would be so easy. If she and Lingling truly wanted to harm me, your grandfather and I wouldn't be alive today. And Yang knew that no amount of talking would be useful at this time. Only when ironclad evidence was presented would Grandma Zheng believe it. Grandma, it's getting late, you should rest early, and Yang said, I didn't mean anything else by telling you this, just wanted you to be cautious around Dr. Jiang and Aunt Suyu. And also my aunt's husband, who seems straightforward and honest, yet he has an unknown side to him that people don't see. Otherwise, Sun Wu wouldn't have had such a good marital relationship with Zheng Lingling after so many years. All right, I've got it, Grandma Zheng nodded. Yang, I'll take your words to heart. Despite her precautions, Grandma Zheng still couldn't believe that Zheng Lingling and Dr. Jiang were capable of such deeds. Then I'm going to rest now. Aha! Grandma Zheng escorted Yang to the door. In the deep silence of the night, barely perceptible footsteps echoed through the hallway. Then a shadow darted into Aunt Suyu's room. Who's there? Hearing noise, Aunt Suyu turned on the bedside lamp and sat up in bed, looking around warily. Aunt Suyu, it's me, Zheng Lingling approached from the side. Seeing who it was, Aunt Suyu shrank back into her bed. Zheng Lingling curled her lips upwards. It seems Aunt Jiang was right, you remembered. No, I haven't, Aunt Suyu shook her head. Zheng Lingling placed the glass bottle on the bedside table. If you want that child to be safe, you'll just have to obey. Let her go, Aunt Suyu looked up at Zheng Lingling. You'll suffer divine retribution for doing this. Zheng Lingling said with a smile, It seems you're unwilling to cooperate? Zheng Suyu suddenly fell silent. Zheng Lingling continued, Divide this into 3 doses and make Yang drink it. You still want to harm Yang? Zheng Suyu looked incredulously at Zheng Lingling. Zheng Lingling said, Aunt Suyu, rest assured this is not poison. And Yang will not be in mortal danger. If you're unwilling to cooperate, that poor child might not survive. Please don't do this, can't you not do this? Zheng Suyu knelt on the bed, constantly kowtowing to Zheng Lingling. Let her go. That child is too pitiful. I'm begging you. The doctor was right. What did being a talented woman of Beijing count for? She still ended up kneeling, fiercely trampled underfoot. And Yang's future would only be more miserable than Zheng Suyu's. Zheng Lingling stepped back and said, Aunt Suyu, you were once known as a talented woman in Beijing. I really can't accept such a grand gesture from you. With that, Zheng Lingling picked up the glass bottle from the table. Since you're unwilling to cooperate, I won't force you. After all, a twisted melon is not sweet. After speaking, Zheng Lingling turned and walked towards the door. She was gambling. Gambling on whether Zheng Suyu would let the child go. Wait. Zheng Suyu suddenly ran down from the bed and grabbed Zheng Lingling's sleeve. Zheng Lingling turned to look at Zheng Suyu. Aunt Suyu, do you have something else to say? I agree. Zheng Suyu stammered, I agree. I'll agree to anything. Zheng Lingling bent down to help Zheng Suyu up. Aunt Suyu, a wise man submits to circumstances. You should have agreed earlier. Don't worry, the child is living well now, no one will trouble her. Having dealt with Zheng Suyu, Zheng Lingling felt very refreshed, even still smiling as she left Zheng Suyu's room. When she reached the staircase, Zheng Lingling encountered Yang. Yang, what are you doing downstairs so late? Zheng Lingling narrowed her eyes. Knowing Yang was not as simple as she seemed, Zheng Lingling now dared not underestimate her. Yang's face was full of harmless smiles, highlighted by slight dimples. I went downstairs to get some water. Dinner was too salty tonight. Auntie, are you also going downstairs for water? Zheng Lingling nodded. Yes, I'm also going downstairs for water. It's getting late, you should rest after you drink. Yang turned and glanced at Zheng Lingling's back, the curve of her lips becoming more pronounced. It seemed, Zheng Lingling was not as smart as she thought. But that doctor, who knew how many times craftier he was than Zheng Lingling. Now the urgent task was to find that child quickly. Thankfully Yang and Xiaozhou from the detective agency were particularly familiar. Otherwise this matter could really be tricky. As soon as Zheng Lingling returned to her room, Sun Wu asked impatiently, How did it go, Lingling? Is everything settled? Chapter 885. Those unknown past events. Zheng Lingling nodded. When did I ever fail to handle something properly? Sun Wu's suspended heart finally settled. That's good. With Yang dead, nobody else could pose a threat. Cui Hua wasn't even 1/10 as capable as Yang. In time the Zheng family would still belong to the three of them. Sitting at her dressing table and starting to apply cream to her face, Zheng Lingling expressed her concern. Do you think Anai Yang will find out about this? Sun Wu replied, no way, didn't Aunt Jiang say that stuff is colorless and odorless? Anai Yang is no deity, how could she possibly discover it? On the other side, Zheng Suyu sat on the bed, sobbing silently. She held the glass bottle tightly in her hand, her knuckles already turning white. She didn't know what to do. Would she really have to go through with poisoning Anai Yang? The next day, Anai Yang made a trip to the detective agency. Xiaozhou and Anai Yang were old friends by now. Seeing Anai Yang arrive, Xiaozhou pulled her over and said, Yang, come quick and see what's wrong with my phonograph, why has it stopped working again? Ever since Anai Yang had fixed Zayaza's phonograph the last time, she had become an omnipotent figure in Zayaza's eyes. Anai Yang took the black record, fitted it onto the phonograph, bent down and fiddled with it for a while, and then a sweet and pleasant voice poured out from the machine. How sweet, your smile so very sweet, as if flowers blooming in the spring breeze. This song was sung by Ms. Deng, popular not just in that era, but in future generations as well. Hearing this song, Anai Yang inexplicably cheered up and began to hum along. Xiaozhou said excitedly, Yang, you're really incredible. You got it to work. Anai Yang clapped her hands, her face full of smug pride. Otherwise, why would everyone on the street call me Brother Yang? Brother Yang? Xiaozhou clicked his tongue and laughed. I must say the nickname suits you well. I'm going to start calling you Brother Yang. Xiaozhou liked Anai Yang a lot, but not in a romantic way. He and Anai Yang were like brothers. Anai Yang often gave him a sense of being an elder. Also, Anai Yang was straightforward and didn't put on airs. Being with her, there was no need to worry about being plotted against, nor any backstabbing. She was quite different from other women. Smiling, Anai Yang said, I've come here because I need your help with something. Xiaozhou changed the record. I knew it, Brother Yang never comes without a reason. Out with it, what do you need this time? Anai Yang said, I'd like you to help me look into my great-aunt. Xiaozhou was startled, taking a moment to process. Your great-aunt, who's that? As he spoke, it seemed like he remembered something and then said, I recall your mother is the daughter from the Zheng family who went missing for many years, right? So by that account, your great-aunt would be the celebrated Beijing beauty from 30 years ago? Zheng Suyu had made a strong impression in Beijing back in the day. Even now, quite a few people still remembered Zheng Suyu. Right? Anai Yang nodded. My great-aunt is Zheng Suyu. Xiaozhou said, your great-aunt used to be a great talent. My dad was particularly fond of her. So, what about your great-aunt do you want to look into? Anai Yang said, I want you to help me investigate my great-aunt's past. I want to know what exactly she went through these past 30 years. Upon hearing this, Xiaozhou continued, I've heard that your great-aunt's mental health hasn't been very good for some years, right? Zheng Suyu was indeed a person of influence before, so the Zheng family concealed her mental health issues, claiming she had gone abroad. Thus, aside from those close to the Zheng family, not many people knew of Zheng Suyu's recent state. Anai Yang didn't conceal the truth. There were indeed some issues before, but she's all right now. It's truly a case of envy of the talented. Your great-aunt used to be a legendary figure, Xiaozhou observed. Then he continued, by the way, Yang, why are you looking into your great-aunt? Anai Yang trusted Zayaza's character and started to tell him about the affairs of the Zheng family. Moreover, since Xiaozhou was a detective, the clearer he was about certain matters, the better positioned he would be to investigate. After listening, Xiaozhou shook his head in amazement. Good Lord! Your family situation is way too complicated. I think you'd better get out of that house as soon as possible. Anai Yang sighed. It's simple for me to leave, but what about my grandparents? You've got a point, Xiaozhou slapped his chest. Yang, leave this matter to me. I guarantee you'll investigate it thoroughly for you. Chapter 886. Those Unknown Past Events. _2. I trust you. Anai Yang took out 2 stacks of cash from his bag. What are you doing? Xiaozhou said. Down payment. Anai Yang slightly raised his eyebrows. I can't have you working for nothing. Even brothers settle accounts clearly. Anai Yang, although having a good relationship with Xiaozhou, never thought of taking advantage of him. Xiaozhou chuckled. You're reminding me of the first time we met. Back then, when he first met Anai Yang, his initial impression of her was of a very gentle beauty, but when it came to paying, she was as straightforward as a man. She paid the 300 yuan deposit without even frowning. Until now, Anai Yang was still very generous. At that time, Xiaozhou could never have imagined that one day he would become good brothers with Anai Yang. And I Young looked up and thought for a moment. Thinking about it, we've known each other for over 2 years, right? Xiaozhou nodded and sighed. Time really flies, more than 2 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Yes, and I Young also seemed somewhat nostalgic. Time goes by too quickly. Xiaozhou then asked, when do you plan on tying the knot with my brother? At first, Xiaozhou wasn't optimistic about Ni Yang's relationship with Mo Qixin. Unexpectedly, over the past 2 years, instead of fading, their affection had grown even stronger. Ni Yang said, we'll get it when it naturally happens, no rush for now. My brother will turn 30 after the new year. Xiaozhou was anxious for Mo Qixin. Their classmates from the same year, many of them had already married and had children. It's like you're not considering me as your brother? Ni Yang patted Xiaoza's shoulder. Don't worry, your brother and I isn't the kind of person who abandons a relationship. Xiaozhou scratched his head, but, Ni Yang looked at Xiaozhou, no buts. I remember you're classmates with Mo Qixin, right? Instead of worrying about him, you should worry about yourself. Look at you, still single and without even a girlfriend, and you have the nerve to compare with Mo Qixin? Xiaozhou, that hit a nerve. The melody of Little Town Story wafted through the air, and Ni Yang continued, where did you buy this old-school phonograph? The sound quality is pretty good. From the second-hand market, Xiaozhou said, if you like, I can keep an eye out for you. Sounds good, Ni Yang nodded. These old record players are perfect for listening to operas. The times were changing, and what people currently revered were radios and televisions, and factories had long since stopped producing these old record players. It was hard to even find a place to buy them. Listening to operas? Which ones? Xiaozhou furrowed his brows slightly. Ni Yang started counting on her fingers. Peking Opera, Yu Opera, Kunku Opera, and the Huangmei Opera from Huizhou, whatever you like. Xiaozhou said speechlessly, who listens to operas these days? You're living like my mom. The 1980s was a decade where television shows and movies soared in popularity. Only the older generation enjoyed the yi-ya-ya of traditional opera. Ni Yang said with a smile, different people have different hobbies. By the way, remember to take care of that matter for me, I have to go now. No problem, Xiaozhou saw Ni Yang out to the door. When do you think you'll have it figured out? Ni Yang continued to ask. Xiaozhou thought for a moment and then continued, as long as it happened in Suzhou City, there's nothing I can't find out. I should have some results in about 2 or 3 days. It's just that the overseas stuff is a bit troublesome. Ni Yang nodded, okay, I got it. Goodbye. Seeing Ni Yang still riding that old bicycle, Xiaozhou said, Ni, you've made quite a bit of money, why are you still riding this beat-up old bike? What beat-up old bike? Ni Yang said, I bought this bike just 2 years ago, it's still new, okay? Ni Yang took good care of things. Her bicycle was almost as good as new. Xiaozhou continued, I think only a small car is worthy of your status. Others might not know about Ni Yang's current wealth, but Xiaozhou was well aware. Ni Yang had many businesses under her, including a noodle restaurant, milk tea shop, skincare shop, and the prestigious restaurant Phoenix among others. She was the undisputed #1 amongst all women in Suzhou City, and even looking across the whole of China, it was difficult to find a woman on par with Ni Yang. Although the small car is good, Ni Yang said, it doesn't have the deep connection that I have with my little Phoenix. Chapter 887. Those Unknown Past Events. _3. From having nothing to having everything, this bicycle had witnessed Ni Yang's growth, so she was reluctant to replace it. Little Phoenix? Xiaozhou was stunned for a moment. Ni Yang patted the bicycle seat. Yes, this is it. Only then did Xiaozhou realize that it was a Phoenix brand bicycle. After leaving the detective agency, Ni Yang went to the bank, withdrew 30,000 yuan, and then rode to Jinghua village. The cement road in Jinghua village had been finished. Now cars and agricultural vehicles could drive directly into the village, and during rainy days the villagers no longer had to worry about the muddied mud road. It had been a long time since she last visited Jinghua village, and coming here again she felt an indescribable sense of closeness. As soon as she arrived at the entrance of the village, someone recognized Ni Yang. Yang is back. Ni Yang quickly jumped off her bicycle. Aunt Wang? Aunt Wang looked behind Ni Yang. Yang, your parents and Yun didn't come back with you? No. Ni Yang shook her head. My grandma's place had some issues recently, my parents couldn't come back, and I am here to settle accounts with everyone. I just happened to run into you, could you please go back and tell everyone to come to my house to settle the accounts? The raw materials for the ice skin jade skin, were all selected from the aloe vera, roses and portulaca grown by the villagers of Jinghua village, so Ni Yang settled accounts with everyone every 6 months. Aunt Wang smiled and said, "Since you're all busy, don't rush back here, we're not waiting on the money." Ni Yang felt a bit embarrassed. "We had originally agreed to settle on the 1st of July and the 1st of January, and it's already been over 10 days late. Aunt Wang, I'll head back first. Please have everyone bring their account books to my house." Aunt Wang nodded. Although Ni Yang and Ni Tsuehua had moved to the Zheng family, Ni Qingrui still lived here. Ni Qingrui was a diligent man. He not only kept his own yard spotlessly clean but also took great care of Ni Yang's yard. Thus, Ni Yang didn't need to clean up anything upon her return. After a while there was some noise outside the door. Ni Yang opened the courtyard gate and it was Grandma Wu. "Grandma Wu, please come in." "Yang, you haven't eaten yet, have you? Here are some red plums that aren't sour at all, try them. I've also made a few meat biscuits for you, they're still warm." Grandma Wu's family used to be very poor, often unable to afford a full meal, but ever since Ni Yang arrived in Jinghua village, their lives had gradually improved. Hearing that Ni Yang had returned, Grandma Wu, without a second thought, picked the last few red plums from the tree and hurriedly made some meat biscuits, fearing that Ni Yang would be hungry. The red plums were what Grandma Wu had reluctantly saved for her grandson who was studying away from home. Now that Ni Yang was back, everything including her own grandson had to step aside. "Thank you, Grandma Wu." Ni Yang didn't bother to check if the plums were washed, she just picked one up and took a bite. Grandma Wu cheerfully said, "You child, why be so formal with Grandma Wu? Are the plums sweet?" "Sweet. Very sweet." After a while, more and more people gathered in the small courtyard. Everyone was just like Grandma Wu, afraid that Ni Yang might be hungry. One brought dough twists, another brought duck soup. When everyone had arrived, Ni Yang began to settle the accounts. "Uncle Lin, your family earned a total of 580 yuan for the first half of the year, see if that's correct." Ni Yang handed Uncle Lin 580 yuan. Uncle Lin chuckled, "No need to count, Yang, I trust you." "Aunt Xiao, your family's is 526 yuan. Grandma Wu, your family's is 600 yuan. Holding the hefty stacks of cash, everyone was very happy. In the past, when they were still planting rice after paying their taxes, they could barely earn 100 yuan a year, but now they could make 5 to 600 yuan in just half a year, and of that 5 to 600 yuan, they only needed to pay about 10 yuan for taxes. How could they not be happy? Jinghua village had exactly 50 households. After distributing money to everyone, the 30,000 yuan Ni Yang withdrew was left with just over 100 yuan. After finishing the accounts, Ni Yang took a stroll through the factory at the back. Though she hadn't been in Jinghua village in these days, the factory had been still operating, having grown from a dozen people to now over 20. Once she confirmed everything was in order, Ni Yang took some grain and oils and other daily necessities over to Grandma Liu's house. Chapter 888, Those Unknown Past Events. _4. Grandma Liu was old, bound by bound feet, and had no descendants. Even buying simple things was a struggle for her, so Ni Yang would regularly deliver staples like grain and oil to her. Grandma Liu was often bored at home alone, but she became overjoyed when she saw Ni Yang. She immediately brought out the best things she had at home to entertain her. Ni Yang had dinner at Grandma Liu's before cycling back to the Zheng family's home. The day passed and Zheng Suyu's spirits seemed to have lifted. The elderly Madame Zheng sat on the sofa, chatting with her. Zheng Lingling, Sun Wu and Zheng Xianjing, a family of 3, occupied the opposite couch. "Suyu, how about I go out with you tomorrow for a walk?" Zheng Suyu shook her head. "I don't want to go out." It wasn't that she didn't want to go out but that she didn't dare to. Before Lingling had said anything, Suyu didn't dare to step outside. "It's not good to always be cooped up at home," continued the elderly Madame Zheng. "You've been sick for so many years, aren't you curious about what the outside has become?" Zheng Suyu lifted her cup and took a sip of tea, remaining silent. Her eyes, which were not yet muddled, were filled with sorrow. Zheng Lingling nudged Zheng Xianjing with her elbow. Zheng Xianjing immediately understood and said with a smile, "Auntie, let my mother and me accompany you for a stroll tomorrow, shall we? Is that okay?" Zheng Suyu looked up at Zheng Lingling. Zheng Lingling said, "Aunt Suyu, it's rare for Xianjing to show such filial piety. Please indulge her this once." The elderly Madame Zheng added, "Suyu, Xianjing is a particularly filial child. Knowing you had regained consciousness, she hurried back from school last night. Don't let her heartfelt effort go unnoticed. Auntie, where are you all planning to go for fun? Take me with you, please? And Ai Yang entered from outside. Zheng Lingling glanced subtly at Zheng Suyu. Zheng Suyu immediately said, I don't want to go out these days. When I feel like going out, I'll call you to join us. It's more lively with more people. Okay, and Ai Yang nodded. The elderly Madame Zheng looked at Ai Yang, continuing, Yang, where have you been? You've come back so late. And Ai Yang said, I went back to the village for a bit. Hearing this, Zheng Xianjing cast a disdainful glance at Ai Yang, filled with scorn. Rural folk will always be rural folk. Always talking about going back to the village. Even if you dress her in a dragon robe, she doesn't look like a city person. The elderly Madame Zheng nodded. You've been out for quite a time. It's indeed time to check back. How is everything over there? All good? And Ai Yang responded with a smile. Don't worry, everything's fine. That's good to hear. Auntie Suyu, have an orange. Zheng Lingling peeled an orange and handed it to Zheng Suyu, passing her a meaningful glance. Zheng Suyu accepted the orange. Thank you, Lingling. Zheng Lingling's face was filled with a smile. Aunt Suyu, you were the person I admired the most when I was little. Why be so formal with me? I remember oranges were your favorite back then. It's kind of Lingling to remember your preferences, the elderly Madame Zheng said with a laugh. With the words Ai Yang had spoken earlier, the elderly Madame Zheng paid special attention to Zheng Lingling that day. Upon her observation, she didn't find anything unusual about Lingling. She was even particularly kind to Zheng Suyu. Such a filial child ought not to be capable of doing such a thing. And Ai Yang must have been overthinking it. After eating half the orange, Zheng Suyu looked up at Ai Yang. Yang, I suddenly feel a bit unwell. Can you accompany me upstairs to check? As soon as Zheng Suyu mentioned feeling unwell, the elderly Madame Zheng grew anxious. Suyu, where do you feel uncomfortable? Is it very painful? Zheng Suyu shook her head. It shouldn't be anything serious, just let Yang take a look. And Ai Yang nodded and put down her cup. Then I'll accompany you to check. All right. And Ai Yang supported Zheng Suyu and they walked upstairs. Upon arriving in Zheng Suyu's room, Ai Yang asked, Auntie, where do you feel uncomfortable? Zheng Suyu's complexion was pale, and her gaze somewhat elusive. I have a bit of a headache. Stretch out your hand, I'll take your pulse for you, Ai Yang offered. Okay, Zheng Suyu hesitated and then extended her wrist. Ai Yang placed her hand on Zheng Suyu's wrist, focusing as she felt for the pulse. It was clear. Zheng Suyu was feigning illness. But Ai Yang didn't expose her and instead said, Auntie, it's normal to have some headache after a major illness. A good sleep should fix it. If it becomes unbearable though, I can also prescribe you some painkillers. Chapter 889, Those Unknown Past Events. _5. No need. Fearing that Ai Yang might discover something, Zheng Suyu quickly withdrew her wrist. Ai Yang continued, Granny, do you remember anything now? Nothing. Zheng Suyu shook her head. Ai Yang said, Granny, since I have the ability to restore you to normal, I also have the ability to save that child. Don't you trust me? Zheng Suyu shook her head again. I don't understand what you're talking about. It wasn't a matter of mistrust. It was a fear to trust. How old was Ai Yang? She was only 19. Who were Zheng Lingling and Dr. Jiang? Could a young girl like Ai Yang really outwit Zheng Lingling and Dr. Jiang? Ai Yang let out a soft sigh. Granny, do you think you'll regret your decision today in the future? Zheng Suyu didn't speak. There was a moment of silence, then Zheng Suyu continued, Yang, you must be thirsty, right? I'll go get you some water to drink. Thank you, Granny. Ai Yang nodded. Since Zheng Suyu was unwilling to cooperate with her, then she would have to accommodate Zheng Suyu. Zheng Suyu went to the table to pour water, perhaps not even realizing herself that her hand was shaking the whole time. She didn't want it to be this way. But she had no choice. Zheng Lingling had said, it wasn't poison and it wouldn't endanger Ai Yang's life. Yang, drink this water. Zheng Suyu handed the glass to Ai Yang. Ai Yang took the glass. Thank you, Granny. As the words fell, she pretended she was about to drink the water. Zheng Suyu was startled and hurriedly said, Wait a moment. What's the matter, Granny? Ai Yang looked up at Zheng Suyu. Zheng Suyu swallowed hard, her eyes and eyebrows filled with unease. She had never done anything to afflict her conscience in her life. Yet now. But if she didn't do it, that child wouldn't be saved. Zheng Suyu swallowed hard again and then said, It's nothing, I just wanted to remind you the water is very hot, drink slowly. Ai Yang took a sip and then said, It's not hot. Zheng Suyu watched as Ai Yang drank the entire cup of water, wanting to stop her several times, but unable to open her mouth. After finishing the water, Yang yawned. It's so strange, why am I so sleepy tonight? Granny, I won't disturb you any longer, I'm going to rest. Okay. Zheng Suyu stood up to see Yang out. After seeing Yang off, Zheng Suyu breathed a sigh of relief. Zheng Xianjing and Zheng Lingling stood at the railing upstairs on the opposite building, watching Yang come out of Zheng Suyu's room and curiously said, Mom, do you think that crazy woman succeeded? Zheng Lingling watched Yang, who kept yawning, and said, She definitely succeeded. Your grandma Jiang said after taking this medicine, the most obvious reaction is feeling sleepy and yawning. Zheng Xianjing's mouth curled into a smug arc. This is perfect. No more having to see that wretched woman. Zheng Lingling patted Zheng Xianjing's hand. I've always told you rural bumpkins like Yang are only fit to carry your shoes. What was Yang? In front of Zheng Xianjing, Yang wasn't even worth as much as a mud ball. Zheng Xianjing continued, Mom, why didn't you just kill that little wench Yun as well? It's so annoying to see that little wench. Zheng Xianjing's detest for little Yun was no less than her detest for Yang. Every time she saw little Yun, she was reminded of her own childhood. Back then, the old Master Zheng wouldn't even spare her a glance. She thought it was because the old Master Zheng didn't like children. But now, the old Master Zheng couldn't wait to hold little Yun in the palm of his hand. What did this mean? Every time she saw this scene, Zheng Xianjing was consumed by jealousy. Zheng Lingling looked at Zheng Xianjing and said, It's a pity your grandma Jiang has always praised you for being intelligent. How did you become so foolish this time? Yun is only 2 years old this year, what threat could she pose? Our biggest enemy right now is Yang. As long as we deal with Yang, are you afraid we can't handle that little wretch? Zheng Xianjing said, Anyway, dealing with one is dealing with two is also dealing, might as well take care of them both at once. To take care of two at once, the target is too big, it would easily attract police attention. Zheng Lingling poked Zheng Xianjing's forehead. You child, why don't you think about the consequences of your actions? You can't be so impulsive in the future. I know. Zheng Xianjing nodded and then asked, Mom, when will Yang die? She couldn't wait to take care of Yang's body. Zheng Lingling replied, Your grandma Jiang said this substance requires 3 doses to be lethal. Today was the first time, there are still 2 more to go. Chapter 890, Those Unknown Past Events. _6. When will I have to wait until? Zheng Xianjing was getting impatient. Don't rush. Zheng Lingling soothed, Big things cannot be rushed. Zheng Xianjing narrowed her eyes and continued, Once Yang dies, her things will all be mine. By the way, Mom, do you know how rich Yang is now? What do you mean? Zheng Lingling turned to look at Zheng Xianjing. Zheng Xianjing continued, You know about Ice Skin Jade Beauty, right? Zheng Lingling nodded. Now, who doesn't know about Ice Skin Jade Beauty? Zheng Xianjing said, Ice Skin Jade Beauty belongs to Yang. Really? Zheng Lingling exclaimed in surprise. Really? Zheng Xianjing continued, I just found out about this a few days ago. A few days ago, Zheng Xianjing and her classmates went to Ice Skin Jade Beauty to shop and overheard Yang talking to employees. Only then did they discover that Ice Skin Jade Beauty was Yang's. At that moment, Zheng Xianjing was shocked. Why would Yang own Ice Skin Jade Beauty? Yang was just a country bumpkin. How could she have established Ice Skin Jade Beauty? It was obvious that Ice Skin Jade Beauty must be a property of the Zheng family. It must have been secretly given to Yang by old Master Zheng and old Madame Zheng. It was just too unfair. Zheng Lingling and Zheng Xianjing shared the same thought. Even if Yang was impressive, she was just a 19-year-old girl. How could she possibly have established Ice Skin Jade Beauty? If Yang were really that capable, she wouldn't care about the Zheng family's wealth. Ice Skin Jade Beauty must have been a gift from old Master Zheng and old Madame Zheng to Yang. These 2 old fools are just too biased. Who knows how many good things they secretly gave to Yang, and yet they put on a righteous front, claiming they are not biased. If this wasn't considered biased, then what would be? Zheng Lingling was furious. Zheng Xianjing comforted her. Mom, don't be angry. After all, Yang won't live much longer. Whatever should be ours will still be ours. Zheng Lingling nodded. That little bitch deserves to die. Weary from yawning, Yang returned to her room, and immediately after closing the door, her expression turned cold and sharp. Zheng Suyu's reaction was beyond her expectations. It seemed that the child was very important to Zheng Suyu. While thinking about this, Yang picked up a gold needle and pricked it onto an acupoint on her wrist. Soon, beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. Afterward, Anai Yang took a bath with rose petals. Once she finished bathing, Anai Yang sat at her desk to write a letter to Amo Chishan, who was far away. The writing paper at that time was very dull, so Anai Yang sketched the light shadow of a plum tree with a fountain pen. The letter was brief but emotive. She filled 2 pages but felt she hadn't written anything substantial. The next day, for a change, Anai Yang slept in. She normally woke up at 7 o'clock but did not get up until 8:30 that morning. After 9 o'clock, Anai Yang came downstairs yawning. Zheng Lingling asked with concern, Yang, why did you get up so late this morning? While yawning, Anai Yang replied, I don't know what happened last night. I fell asleep as soon as I hit the bed, but I just couldn't get up this morning. It was very uncomfortable. Zheng Lingling followed up, Yang, do you want to go to the hospital and have it checked? Anai Yang gestured with a wave of her hand, no need. I am a doctor myself. I know my own body. A sarcastic gleam appeared in Zheng Lingling's eyes upon hearing those words. Anai Yang was indeed intelligent, but she was overly confident. She thought herself clever, unaware that over-cleverness could lead to mistakes. That night, Zheng Suyu, again complaining of feeling unwell, had Anai Yang come to her room. This time, Zheng Suyu poured Anai Yang a cup of clear tea. Anai Yang, as usual, drank every last drop. Zheng Suyu looked at Anai Yang, wanting to speak but eventually said very little. The next morning, Anai Yang, who normally didn't wear makeup, sat in front of the vanity, dabbing and smearing. Soon after, Anai Yang appeared in the dining room, her face pale. Old Master Zheng was startled. Yang, why do you look so terrible? Anai Yang touched her face unconsciously. I probably haven't slept well these past few days. Don't worry about it, Grandpa. Suehua also noticed something off with Anai Yang. Yang, do you want your master to check on you? No need, Anai Yang said with a smile. I'm a doctor myself, Mom, Grandma, you don't have to worry. Shengguan Dehui put down his chopsticks. There's a saying, a doctor who treats himself as a fool for a patient. Yang, I think you should let your master take a look. It's really nothing, Anai Yang waved her hands. Grandma Zheng said worriedly, Yang, do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? If you don't want to visit your master, we can ask Dr. Jiang to come over and check on you. Looking at the room full of people concerned for Anai Yang, Zheng Xianjing wished she could smash the vegetables in her bowl. She would let this despicable woman be pleased for a bit longer since she was soon to meet the king of hell. Anai Yang helplessly said, Grandpa, Grandma, Dad, Mom, I'm really fine. You don't need to be so worried. After the meal, leaving the Zheng family, Anai Yang took the letter she had written the night before and mailed it at the post office. Leaving the post office, Anai Yang made a trip to the detective agency. Xiaozhou was extremely efficient. In just 3 days he had thoroughly gathered the past of Zheng Suyu. Anai Yang benefited greatly from this trip. Thank you so much. Xiaozhou raised his hand. If we're brothers, then don't mention it. But speaking of which, your grandmother really surprised me. I hadn't expected that she. Anai Yang tucked the information into her bag and sighed. She's also a pitiable person. How come you look so pale? Xiaozhou just then noticed that something was off with Anai Yang's face. Anai Yang nonchalantly replied, It's a minor issue, I'll be fine in a few days. Leaving the detective agency, remembering Mo Kishin's request, Anai Yang then went to see Master Du. Unusually, Master Du wasn't chanting in the Buddha hall today. When Anai Yang arrived, Master Du was sitting in the study room holding black and white pieces, playing against himself. Even more amazing was that the black and white pieces were evenly matched, unable to determine a winner. Anai Yang didn't disturb him, but instead wandered around the study, planning to pick a book to read. While searching for a book, Anai Yang unexpectedly discovered that Master Du had a habit of collecting newspapers. From 50 years ago to this morning's issue. And all of them were about murder cases. Anai Yang wasn't interested in murder cases, but her eyes caught a line of text and she pulled out that newspaper. Sijio City Evening News. Yesterday morning, an unidentified infant girl's body was found on the riverbank near the ferry crossing. Chapter 891, She Died. The newspaper date was from a summer 25 years ago. August 9th. At that time, newspapers were still black and white because there was no PS mosaic technology, so one could clearly see the infant girl's features and clothes. The infant girl even wore 2 golden bracelets. From this, it could be deduced that the infant came from a wealthy family. Anai Yang slightly furrowed her brows, folded up the newspaper and looked back at Du. Brother Du, may I borrow this newspaper for a moment? Du didn't directly answer Anai Yang's request but said instead, Come here for a moment. and I Yang walked over. Du looked down at the chess game, which had reached a deadlock, his brow furrowed deeply. What do you think the black piece should do next? On the chessboard, the black and white pieces were equally matched, each not willing to concede a step, clearly having reached a mutually destructive scenario. Du was truly a mystical person, playing against himself and still managing to create such a situation. I Yang leaned slightly forward, a strand of black hair slipping from beside her ear. Her pale fingertips picked up a sparkling, translucent black piece, obsidian shining under the light, accentuating her already fair fingertips, at that moment resembling top-grade mutton fat jade, as she placed the piece in the center of the board. Just one move. The situation on the board shifted instantly, finding new hope when all seemed lost. A flash of surprise flickered in Du's eyes, then he raised his hand and placed a white piece. What had been a hopeful situation reversed in an instant. Life was like chess and chess mirrored life. I Yang lightly curled her lips, casually picking up a black piece and gently tapping it onto the board. Click. The sound of the obsidian piece falling onto the jade chessboard was particularly pleasant. You've lost? I Yang lightly lifted her gaze. Du sighed, yes, I've lost. He had pondered over the game for a long time, thinking it unsolvable, yet I Yang resolved it with merely 2 pieces. It was uncertain whether he was too foolish, or if I Yang was too clever. This is what they call the observer sees clearer. By the way, may I borrow this newspaper for a few days? I Yang lifted the newspaper in her hand. Du had asked what she needed it for, then slightly nodded. Take it. Thank you, I Yang continued, believing in Buddhism, chanting scriptures, raising birds, collecting newspapers. Brother Du, your hobbies are quite extensive. Overpraised, Du replied in a tone lacking emotion. As he spoke, Du continued, by the way, ever since that time, your duo has almost come here every day. Really? I Yang was somewhat surprised. She had thought that the experience had left a profound shadow in Duo's heart, and that Duo would never come here again. After all, even though Duo was a bird, it held grudges even better than humans. Du nodded. The weather's nice outside today, not too hot, and there's a breeze. Would you like to go out for a walk? When I Yang arrived, she heard from the butler that Du hadn't left his house in several days. Du lifted his head and glanced outside. Then let's stroll in the garden. I Yang tucked the newspaper into her bag. Sounds good. The 2 of them walked out one after the other. At this season, the garden was bursting with flowers, the gentle breeze carrying wafts of floral scent, making for a refreshing walk among the blooming flowers. After a round, I Yang felt something was missing. Where's Sister Jiao? Usually when she visited De Ming Xian, Du Jiao would always be present. She might be in her room, Du suggested. At the same time, the assistant following Du quietly slipped away. Oh, I Yang nodded slightly. Just then, a black shadow flew over from a distance. Yang. I Yang looked up and smiled. Duo? Yang. Duo flew straight to I Yang's shoulder, rubbing its small head against her chin. After throwing a small tantrum, Duo looked at Du. You little bastard. I Yang gently tapped Duo's head. Duo, you can't be so rude. You little bastard. I Yang slightly furrowed her brows. Son, if you continue being rude like this, Mum won't give you treats anymore. You little bastard. I Yang slightly squinted her eyes, furiously glaring. Say it again. You little bastard. You're getting bold. I Yang poked Duo's small head sternly. Try saying it again. You little bastard. I Yang was infuriated. Du glanced sideways at I Yang, a faint smile playing on his lips. It's just a bird, why bother stooping to its level? I Yang, feeling somewhat embarrassed, said, It comes here every day, surely it isn't just to curse at you? I swear, I didn't teach it anything. Chapter 892 She died. _2. Duo is after all her bird. It would be so embarrassing if Master Du thought, like Mo Baichuan, that Shed used it to deliberately attract his attention. Liege is the most human-like and vindictive among birds, said Master Du, his expression indifferent, not taking the matter to heart at all. Hearing this, I Yang breathed a sigh of relief. People really are different. Duo seemed to understand Master Du's words, glaring with a pair of shiny black eyes and fiercely said, You little bastard. Shut up, I Yang smacked Duo lightly. You're not allowed to talk like that anymore. Duo flew onto Master Du's shoulder. You little bastard. Master Du wasn't angry. Instead, he casually pinched a green caterpillar and handed it to Duo. Across an artificial lake. The butler, accompanied by a young man, was walking over. Seeing this scene, the young man exclaimed in surprise, Is that really Master Du feeding the bird?" At the moment the liege made its outrageous remarks, he thought Master Du would crush it. Unexpectedly, Master Du fed the liege a caterpillar with a gentle look in his eyes. It was hard to believe that this was the same Master Du, ruthless and unfeeling, who wouldn't even spare his own brothers. When had he ever shown such tenderness? It's just too unbelievable. Could it be that he was hallucinating? The butler nodded. "You're not seeing things." The young man went on to ask, "Who is that young lady?" "She is Mr. Paige's girlfriend, Miss Anai," the butler answered. The young man nodded and asked uncertainly, "Butler, did the liege just call Master Du a little bastard?" The butler calmly nodded. "You heard correctly." The young man swallowed hard. "Whose bird is that, liege?" "Miss Anai's," said the butler. The young man stealthily pinched the inside of his thigh. It really hurt. He wasn't dreaming. The young man hurriedly stopped and said, "Butler Lin, I suddenly remembered I have some matters to deal with. I'll visit Master Du another day." After speaking, he left as though fleeing. He didn't dare to provoke Master Du at this time. Butler Lin watched the young man's retreating figure, shrugged helplessly. The sun was getting bigger and hotter. Standing under the shade of trees, Master Du played with the bird in the cage, while Enai Yang sat at the stone table under the pavilion, eating sunflower seeds. A breeze blew over the artificial lake, causing the lotus flowers and leaves to sway left and right. The beautiful koi fish swam underneath the leaves. Squinting at the artificial lake, Enai Yang's long lashes cast a light shadow on her eyelids, as if thinking of something. A faint smile played on her lips. Just then Du Jiaojiao came running from a distance. "Yang Yang. Sister Jiaojiao." Enai Yang stood up and waved to Du Jiaojiao. Du Jiaojiao ran over and sat on the stone bench, gulping down the tea on the table. "Oh my God! It's so hot it could kill a person." Enai Yang picked up a fan and fanned her. "Actually, today's temperature isn't that high, the highest being only 30 degrees. Because you ran over, Sister Jiaojiao, you feel much hotter." Du Jiaojiao said, 30 degrees isn't high? In our Shanghai, even the hottest days don't reach 30 degrees. In later years, due to exhaust pollution, global warming, and ice melting, there wasn't much temperature difference between Shanghai and Beijing, and summer would be like a furnace. But now it was the 1980s. The 1980s were a pure era, one with clear-cut seasons and no pollution. In the 1980s, summers in Shanghai weren't hot at all. The hottest days could be dealt with just a fan. It wasn't like in the future where stepping out of air-conditioned rooms felt like losing half your life. Enai Yang smiled and said, "I think it's all right. Sister Jiaojiao, you haven't been to tropical regions yet. If you went there, you'd definitely question life." Du Jiaojiao loved to travel, but she only visited developed countries and had never been to tropical regions. "I heard that summers in F continent are the hottest, especially in the Sahara Desert where temperatures can reach over 50 degrees. I don't know how people there survive," Du Jiaojiao said, fanning herself with one hand while pouring tea with the other. "Anyway, I couldn't stand it." Then Du Jiaojiao added, "Yang Yang, why did you come alone? Where's Peiji?" "Peiji?" Enai Yang was momentarily stunned before she realized that Du Jiaojiao was referring to Mo Qishan. "He went to F country," Enai Yang said. Du Jiaojiao sighed. "He really is a busy man, always flying around. Yang Yang, how can you stand it?" Enai Yang smiled and said, "Distance makes the heart grow fonder." Chapter 893 She died. _3. Du Jiaojiao nodded in agreement. "Yeah, Yang Yang, you're right. Distance creates beauty. Yang Yang, you're incredible, spouting wisdom extemporaneously." Enai Yang continued, "I didn't come up with this saying, I heard it from someone else. The phrase, distance creates beauty, is popular in later generations and doesn't have a specific source. It's a famous proposition in aesthetics." Although she didn't have a specific source, Enai Yang didn't want to claim the saying as her own. If she did, she wouldn't be any different from the Li Xianxian of the past. Du Jiaojiao scratched her head. "But I've never heard anyone else say it before." Enai Yang added, "Out of sight, out of mind, isn't that how the saying goes? I just happen to have a good memory and have kept it in mind till now." Du Jiaojiao nodded. "Whoever came up with that saying must be impressive." "I think so too," Enai Yang agreed. Du Jiaojiao still felt hot and turned to look at the artificial lake filled with lotus flowers. She said, "Yang Yang, let's go down and pick some lotus seeds. They're really sweet right now. They could also cool off under the lotus leaves." The artificial lake was quite large but not very deep, with the deepest part just a little above the knees. And I Yang looked at the artificial lake and then at the several wild ducks under the lotus leaves. There are leeches in this mud, right? And I Yang wasn't afraid of snakes or mice, but she had a fear of sticky leeches and slugs. Back in Dam Village, she often went into the fields to plant rice and would always wear long rain boots or leg wraps soaked in salt water to repel the leeches, which hate salt. Now just the thought of that scene made An I Yang's skin crawl. After hesitating, An I Yang said, "I don't want to go down, Sister Jiao Jiao. I'll just watch you from here." Du Yi, who was nearby, raised an eyebrow slightly. "I'm surprised there's something you're afraid of." To this day, Du Yi couldn't forget the sight of An I Yang swallowing a snake gall. Even thinking about it now made his stomach churn. An I Yang raised an eyebrow too. "Everyone has their weaknesses." Du Jiao Jiao pointed at Du Yi. "He doesn't have any weaknesses." An I Yang followed up, "Then you should ask him if he dares to swallow a snake gall raw." Du Jiao Jiao incredulously said, "You can swallow a snake gall raw?" An I Yang nodded. "Snake gallbladder is a precious thing. Sister Jiao Jiao, don't you want to go down to the lake? Go ahead, I'll wait here for you. Remember to pick lots of lotus seeds." "Let's go together," Du Jiao Jiao said, tugging at An I Yang's arm. "Don't worry, we're not going directly into the water. We'll go by boat." On hearing there was a boat, An I Yang reluctantly agreed. Du Jiao Jiao had the servants fetch someone who could row a boat, then she stood at the bow and looked back at Du Yi. "Third brother, do you want to come down with us?" Du Yi shook his head. "I'll pass on this excitement. Boring." Du Jiao Jiao rolled her eyes at Du Yi. Then she turned to An I Yang. "Let's go, Yang Yang." The lotus flowers in the lake weren't dense, and a small boat could just make its way through. The lotus leaves were tall, and after a while, the small boat disappeared into the endless green where the lotus leaves reached the sky. It was indeed not hot among the lotus leaves. An I Yang and Du Jiao Jiao not only picked many lotus flowers and pods but also spotted a nest of wild duck eggs, which they left untouched. Before long, the servants returned with the boat laden with their harvest. While picking lotus pods, An I Yang accidentally got her shoes wet. Thankfully, it was summer, so she took off her shoes, rolled up her trouser legs a bit below the knees, revealing a stretch of fair and lovely calves that stood out strikingly amid the green lotus leaves. She was now very glad she hadn't worn a cheongsam today, otherwise it would have been awkward. Seeing An I Yang taking off her shoes to wash her feet at the bow, Du Jiao Jiao also sat down and took off her shoes. Shielded by the lotus leaves and with the lake water cool and refreshing, it was extremely comfortable. Du Jiao Jiao sighed, "This is so comfortable." "Here is a lotus seed for you," and I Yang handed a peeled lotus seed to Du Jiao Jiao. "Thank you," Du Jiao Jiao expressed her gratitude. The fresh lotus seeds were very sweet but not heavy, quite refreshing. "So delicious." And I Yang nodded. "Indeed they are. There's always a lot to talk about when two young girls get together." Although Du Jiao Jiao was already in her 30s this year, her spirit remained youthful. Feeling hot, Du Jiao Jiao had the servants row the boat around the lake several times before heading back. Before going ashore, An I Yang put on her shoes and let down her trouser legs. Chapter 894, She Died. _4. She held a large bundle of lotus flowers and pods, standing at the bow of the boat, just like a lotus fairy stepping out of a painting, gracefully poised. Once ashore, An I Yang and Du Jiao Jiao sat together eating lotus seeds for a while before An I Yang proposed saying goodbye. "Brother Du, Sister Jiao Jiao, I have to leave now," An I Yang said, then turned to Grandpa Du. "You should come out more when you're free. Getting more sunlight not only reduces the chance of catching a cold and boosts immunity, but also protects vascular health." "Okay." Grandpa Du nodded. "Duo, I'm heading back," An I Yang waved at Duo. Duo jumped onto the other shoulder of Grandpa Du, unwilling to leave. Duo, An I Yang called again. Duo still didn't want to leave. Grandpa Du laughed. "You go ahead, it's missing the treats I have here." These days, Grandpa Du had provided countless treats for Duo. But Duo was a typical ungrateful wretch. Right after eating Grandpa Du's food, it would curse him as a little bastard. With Duo refusing to accompany her, An I Yang had to go back alone. Yang, wait a moment." Du Jiao Jiao grabbed a handful of lotus flowers and pods and chased after An I Yang. "What is it, Sister Jiao Jiao?" An I Yang turned around. Du Jiao Jiao stuffed the lotus flowers and pods into An I Yang's hands. "Take these." "Thank you." "What are you thanking me for?" "You picked them yourself, I'm just presenting Buddha with borrowed flowers." Du Jiao Jiao smiled. Sister Jiao Jiao, then I'll leave first, and I Yang shook the lotus flowers and pods in her hand. Okay, Du Jiao Jiao waved to her. Watching Ni Yang's retreating figure, Du Jiao Jiao sighed, "Ah, to be young is wonderful." Grandpa Du glanced at Du Jiao Jiao. "You are not old either." "I'm already 36. Du Jiao Jiao shot Grandpa Du a look. Then Du Jiao Jiao added, "I feel something was off with Yang Yang today. Did you see?" Her face was quite pale, but thankfully she seemed to be in good spirits. "I didn't notice," Grandpa Du said whilst feeding a worm to Duo Duo. Du Jiao Jiao looked at Grandpa Du then asked, "What do you think about Yang Yang?" "She's fine," Grandpa Du replied indifferently. "And do you think she's pretty?" Grandpa Du kept his expression neutral, nodding slightly. Du Jiao Jiao narrowed her eyes. "Do you have a crush on Ni Yang?" Grandpa Du fed another worm to Duo Duo. "Older sister, you are already 36 this year, can't you stop making me feel like you're only 6? You're 6. Du Jiao Jiao fluffed up like an angry rooster. "Your whole family is 6. Grandpa Du laughed. "That includes you too." Du Jiao Jiao was momentarily speechless, then she said, "I read a book today that said every person experiences emotions and youthful infatuations. With someone as outstanding as Yang Yang, I really want to know what kind of fairy you would fall for." She was really curious about what kind of person Grandpa Du would marry in the future. "It's regrettable, but you probably won't see it in this lifetime," Grandpa Du said calmly. Du Jiao Jiao continued, "Yang Yang is so pretty, if I were a man, I would definitely like her without hesitation." Grandpa Du looked at Du Jiao Jiao. "Ni Yang is Peiji's girlfriend, I advise you to drop that idea. A friend's wife should not be coveted." Du Jiao Jiao shrugged. "I'm speaking hypothetically. I'm not a man. If I were, I would certainly act decisively." "Maybe in your next life." Grandpa Du looked at Du Jiao Jiao, his expression serious yet gentle. "You might have a chance then." Du Jiao Jiao helplessly shook her head. "It's so boring to talk with someone like you. I'm going back to my room now." After leaving Grandpa Du, and Yang went to see Xiaozhou. Xiaozhou, surprised, took the newspaper and asked, "Where did you find such an antique? This is a 25-year-old newspaper." Even Xiaozhou, being a detective, might not be able to find one. And Yang said, "I have a friend who likes collecting newspapers, can you please help me check something?" "Sure," Xiaozhou nodded, "no problem." When she returned to the Zheng family's home, it was already past 6 in the evening. Today being Monday, Ni Tsuehua and Shengguan Dehui were sitting in the living room with little Ni Yun, chatting with Zheng Suyu. 3 days had passed and Zheng Suyu seemed to have improved quite a bit. Chapter 895, She Died. _5. Moreover, she was very fond of little Ni Yun. She always held little Ni Yun in her arms. "Little Yun Yun, do you want to eat an orange?" "No." Little Ni Yun shook her head. "Aunt Granny, I want to eat candy, red strawberry candy." "Okay." Zheng Suyu smiled and said, "Aunt Granny will peel it for you." Little Ni Yun, like all children, was addicted to sugar, resulting in some bad teeth. She was trying to quit sugar recently. Just as Ni Tsuehua was about to stop her, Shengguan Dehui raised his hand to press down Ni Kuihua's hand, whispering, "Aunt Suyu loves children too, one little piece of candy won't hurt. Later tonight, let her brush her teeth." "Okay then." Ni Tsuehua nodded her head. Seeing that her parents had no reaction, little Ni Yun boldly said, "Aunt Granny, I want one more candy." "Sure." Zheng Suyu said with a beaming smile, "Our little Yun Yun can have as much candy as she wants." "Aunt Granny, you are so nice." Little Ni Yun kissed Zheng Suyu then asked, "Aunt Granny, will you take me to the street tomorrow to buy candied hawthorn please?" Just then a soft voice rang out nearby, "How about I make you a stir-fried bamboo shoots with shredded pork right now?" Little Ni Yun was startled and quickly said, "Sister is back." "Sister, I was just joking with Aunt Granny. I don't like candied hawthorn at all, they are spicy, not tasty." "Not tasty at all." The person who spoke was indeed Ni Yang, and although Ni Yang usually liked little Ni Yun very much, whenever little Ni Yun made a mistake, Ni Yang would not hesitate to scold her. Little Ni Yun's favorite person was Ni Yang, but also the person she feared the most. "Sister, hold me." Little Ni Yun carefully tugged at Ni Yang's sleeve. Ni Yang let out a soft chuckle then said, "You're not allowed to eat candy in the future, otherwise you won't be able to keep your teeth. Sister is feeling a bit unwell today, so I can't hold you." Hearing Ni Yang say she was unwell, a pleased look flashed in Zheng Lingling's eyes. It was just a matter of today. As long as Zheng Suyu didn't mess up tonight, Ni Yang was going to meet the king of hell. Upon this thought, Zheng Lingling picked up the tea from the table, took a small sip and felt extremely satisfied. Concluding her words, Anai Yang continued, "But I brought you a gift, guess what it is?" "It's candy." Little Anai Yun suddenly got excited. "I wish." On hearing this, little Anai Yun's smile immediately vanished from her face as she pitifully said, "Candy isn't tasty at all, it's spicy." Like a magician, Anai Yang seemed to conjure a bunch of fresh lotus flowers and lotus pods from behind her. "Wow, so beautiful." Little Anai Yun immediately forgot all the unpleasantness, and took the lotus in both hands, so fragrant. Zheng Xianjing was sitting on the sofa across from them. Watching the adorable little Anai Yun, she found it difficult to control her emotions, feeling an urge to strangle her to death. This feeling was strange, as if every cell in her body was screaming, "Strangle her! Strangle her!" Apart from jealousy, it was a pure desire to strangle her. Once Anai Yang was dead, she definitely planned to find a way to personally strangle the little wretch. Zheng Xianjing narrowed her eyes, and under the light, a sinister gleam reflected in the depths of her eyes. Zheng Suyu looked at Anai Yang's pale face and felt a wave of guilt rise within her. She had let Anai Yang down. Zheng Suyu tightly clutched the cushion on the sofa, her knuckles turning so white they were devoid of any color. Anai Yang sat on the sofa peeling lotus seeds for little Anai Yun. After a while, she handed the lotus pod to Anai Tsuehua and stood up. "Mom, I'm going to go upstairs to sleep for a bit. Call me when it's time to eat." Anai Tsuehua looked at Anai Yang. "Yang, you look quite ill. Are you sure you don't need to go to the hospital?" "No need," Anai Yang smiled and said, "If there's really a problem, I can just prescribe some medicine for myself to take. Mom, don't worry." Saying this, Anai Yang headed upstairs. Zheng Suyu watched Anai Yang's retreating figure, the feeling of guilt in her eyes deepening. At dinner time, Anai Tsuehua called out several times before Anai Yang came down from upstairs. Her complexion was even worse than before she went up, not only pale but also showing intense weariness, yawning repeatedly as if she could never sleep well enough. Yang, you should go upstairs to rest and I'll have someone bring up your meal," suggested old Master Zheng. Anai Yang waved her hands. "No need, Grandpa, I'm not that delicate." During the meal, Zheng Suyu ate without tasting the food. Chapter 896, She Died. _6. She thought she shouldn't make any more mistakes. She couldn't make any more mistakes. Zheng Suyu stared at the greens in front of her as if she had made a secret decision. After dinner, Anai Yang dragged her heavy feet upstairs. After returning to her room, Zheng Suyu didn't use the excuse of feeling unwell to seek out Anai Yang anymore. Zheng Lingling had been observing Zheng Suyu all along, and seeing that there was no movement on Zheng Suyu's side, she became anxious. Seeing that Anai Yang was about to die, yet Zheng Suyu made no further moves, how could she not be anxious? Zheng Lingling took a bowl of chicken soup from the kitchen and carried it to Zheng Suyu's room. "Aunt Suyu, I've brought you some chicken soup." Zheng Lingling knocked on the door. Hearing Zheng Lingling's voice, Zheng Suyu was startled. "I am already asleep." Zheng Lingling softly said, "Aunt Suyu, I know you haven't slept yet. You didn't eat much tonight, so I specifically brought you some chicken soup." Zheng Suyu's face turned pale. She walked over from inside and tremblingly opened the door for Zheng Lingling. "Aunt Suyu, I'll leave the chicken soup here." Zheng Suyu stood there, her hands nervously crossed together. "Aunt Suyu, why didn't you go to see Anai Yang today?" Zheng Lingling turned her head to look at Zheng Suyu. "When you're ill, you should see a doctor. Did you forget about that today?" I. Zheng Suyu's eyes reddened as she looked up. "I can't harm people, please, can't we stop this?" "Sure." Zheng Lingling grinned. "Since you've given up on that child now, don't regret it later." The last 4 words made Zheng Suyu shudder all over. What should she do? What should she do now? Zheng Lingling continued, "Aunt Suyu, it's late, I'll head back first. As for the rest, you'd better think it through." For someone like Zheng Suyu, all talk was useless if it wasn't to the point. "He'll go out with you." Zheng Suyu followed Zheng Lingling's steps. Zheng Lingling looked back at Zheng Suyu, feigning ignorance. "Aunt Suyu, why are you following me?" Zheng Suyu said, "I'm feeling unwell and am going to see Miss Yang for treatment." "That's more like it." Zheng Lingling said, pleased. "Aunt Suyu, you are an educated and smart person. You should know that a wise man submits to circumstances." The two left together. Zheng Lingling headed towards her own room, while Zheng Suyu walked towards Anai Yang's room. Anai Yang sat in front of the dressing mirror, with a reflection showing a pale face. This face worried Anai Tsuehua, let alone how fearful she felt looking at herself. After a while, Anai Yang looked up at the clock again. Something was off. Very off. Yesterday at this time she had finished a cup of tea, but today Zheng Suyu hadn't made a single move. Just as Enai Yang was lost in her thoughts, there came a knocking at the door. "Is Yang Yang in the room?" "Yes." Enai Yang replied weakly, walking over to open the door. "Auntie, you're here." Seeing Enai Yang's increasingly pale face, Zheng Suyu suppressed the guilt rising within her and continued, "Yang Yang, I'm still feeling a bit unwell today, could you take a look for me?" "Sure." Enai Yang nodded. "Should we do it here in my room or shall we go to your room?" "Let's go to my room," Zheng Suyu said. "All right." Enai Yang followed Zheng Suyu's steps. Enai Yang's room was separated from Zheng Suyu's room by a long corridor. Zheng Suyu walked in front. "Yang Yang, your complexion keeps getting worse, maybe you should see a doctor." "It's nothing." Enai Yang shook her head nonchalantly. "What if it is something?" Zheng Suyu asked. Enai Yang looked at Zheng Suyu. "Aunt Suyu, why do you sound so sure?" Zheng Suyu, fearing Enai Yang might suspect something, quickly averted her gaze and poured Enai Yang a glass of water. "I was just saying, Yang Yang, drink some water." This time Enai Yang drank the water without leaving a drop. Zheng Suyu watched her and couldn't describe her feelings. Just 3 days ago, Enai Yang had confidently said she could help her. But now Enai Yang couldn't even differentiate poison from boiling water. Sigh. Zheng Suyu sighed deeply in her heart. Enai Yang placed the empty glass on the table and looked at Zheng Suyu. "Aunt Suyu, don't you really have anything to say to me?" "No." Zheng Suyu shook her head, thought for a moment and then added, "Yang Yang, I know your medical skills are good, but a doctor doesn't heal themselves. You should visit the hospital when you have time." Enai Yang didn't respond to her remark and stood up. "Aunt Suyu, you should rest early." And going back to my room. The next morning, Enai Yang's condition was worse than the previous 2 days. She was barely holding on. Grandfather Zheng and Grandmother Zheng were very worried and insisted on taking Enai Yang to the hospital. But Enai Yang refused again. With Enai Yang unwilling to go, the 2 elders didn't have any other options and could only worry. Zheng Lingling feigned concern. "That girl Yang Yang really being ill and still not going to the hospital. She looks so pale it hurts me to see it. Tingting, you should persuade Yang Yang too." Enai Tsuehua was also very anxious. "Yang Yang has always been decisive. If she doesn't want to go to the hospital, there's nothing I can do." Zheng Lingling sighed. "A daughter doesn't always follow her mother." Enai Yang visited the detective agency. After getting useful information, she returned to the Zheng family house, closed her room door and slept soundly. After all, she was ill and needed to rest properly. At dinner time, Enai Yang did not come downstairs. Enai Tsuehua and Shengguan Dehui, worried something might happen to her, personally brought the food to Enai Yang's bowl. The couple stayed in Enai Yang's room for a good while, and when they finally came out, both had rather unpleasant expressions on their faces. While some were grieving, Zheng Xianjing was overjoyed. "Mom, is Enai Yang about to die?" "Yes." Zheng Lingling nodded. "She probably won't make it till tomorrow morning." "Great." The next morning, Enai Yang didn't come downstairs for breakfast. Grandmother Zheng said, "Fuzeo, go call Yang Yang down for breakfast." "All right." After a while, a terrified scream came from upstairs. "Ah!" Then they saw Fuzeo running downstairs in a panic. "No, no good. Madam, something terrible has happened." "What's wrong, Fuzeo? Take your time and tell us." Fuzeo's eyes were wide open, clearly not yet recovered from the shock. "Yang? Miss Yang Yang, she..." Grandmother Zheng stood up anxiously. "What happened to her? Speak up." She, Fuzeo swallowed, her voice trembling. "She's dead." Chapter 897, Dead? Enai Yang is dead? Mrs. Zheng's face turned deathly pale. "Miss Fu, what nonsense are you talking about?" It was eerily quiet around. It was as if someone had pressed the pause button, and the atmosphere became ominously terrifying. Enai Tsuehua looked at Miss Fu, her mouth twitching into a stiff arc. "Miss Fu, please stop joking." Zheng Lingling frowned. "Miss Fu. It's early in the morning, what are you babbling about? Just bad luck." A look of triumph flashed in Zheng Xianjing's downcast eyes. She knew Miss Fu wasn't joking. At last she was dead. That bitch Enai Yang was finally dead. If it weren't for the setting, she would have laughed out loud. Miss Fu was trembling all over, knowing how important Enai Yang was in this family. "It's true, Miss Yang Yang is really gone." Bang! The cup in Enai Kuihua's hand fell to the floor as she ran upstairs. Mr. Zheng and Mrs. Zheng immediately followed Enai Tsuehua. "Mom and Dad, slow down, maybe Miss Fu got it wrong. Yang Yang is just asleep." Zheng Lingling supported Mrs. Zheng's arm. secretly signaling Zhang Xianjing. Zhang Xianjing immediately stood up and ran to Mr. Zheng's side. "Grandpa, please slow down." Shengguan Dehui came from the other side and upon seeing the situation he asked, "What happened here?" "Miss Yang Yang had an accident," Miss Fu said. Hearing this, Shengguan Dehui's expression changed and he followed everyone else upstairs. "What happened to Yang Yang?" No one answered Shengguan Dehui. They didn't know how to respond. "It's okay, Yang Yang must be fine," Anai Tsuehua muttered to herself as if reciting a mantra. Anai Yang's room was on the 3rd floor, the door was open. Anai Tsuehua rushed in. "Yang Yang. Yang Yang." Then came a burst of mournful crying. "Yang Yang. What happened to you? Yang Yang, please open your eyes and look at Mom." Yang Yang. Mr. Zheng and Mrs. Zheng were also in a panic. Anai Yang lay on the bed, her face deathly pale. Shengguan Dehui reached out his index finger to her nose and suddenly, his pupils shrank. No breath. She wasn't breathing. Shengguan Dehui's legs went weak and he sat down on the floor, his face full of disbelief. Zheng Lingling looked at Anai Yang, her eyes filled with undisguised malice. She didn't even need to hide her emotions now. Everyone in the room was immersed in their sorrow. Who would notice her? Dr. Jiang said Anai Yang was not to be underestimated. In her view, Anai Yang was nothing special. Zheng Xianjing stood next to Zheng Lingling and whispered, "Mom, is she really dead?" "They'll check." Zheng Lingling walked to the bed and mimicked Shengguan Dehui, putting her index finger in front of Anai Yang's nose. "No breath. Really no breath. That's great." Zheng Lingling signaled Zheng Xianjing with her eyes. Zheng Xianjing nodded, knelt down, crying out, "Yang Yang. What happened to you? Yang Yang." Zheng Lingling, wiping her tears, said, "Yang Yang will definitely be fine. Miss Fu, go call Dr. Jiang quickly." Anai Yang was very cunning. What if she had blown herself up? So they needed Dr. Jiang to confirm. Zheng Lingling was a very cautious person. "Okay. I'm going now." Miss Fu immediately ran out in a panic. The Zheng family was in complete disarray. Zheng Suyu had not slept well last night, so she got up a bit late this morning. Grabbing a servant, she asked, "What's going on in the house?" The servant's expression was grim. "You'll know if you go to Miss Yang Yang's room." A bad premonition rose in Zheng Suyu's heart, and she walked upstairs. Dr. Jiang had already arrived. She sat by the bed, pressed her stethoscope to Anai Yang's body, sighed and said, "Ting Ting Dehui, mourn her loss." Hearing Dr. Jiang's words, Zheng Lingling's hanging heart finally relaxed. Zheng Suyu walked in just in time to hear this. Immediately her mind went blank. Mourn her loss? Why mourn? Zheng Suyu's eyes followed to the bedside, and saw the pale, silent Anai Yang. Anai Yang. Dead. Horror struck Zheng Suyu, her blood running cold. She staggered several steps and finally fell to the ground. It was her fault that Anai Yang was dead. It was her fault that Anai Yang was dead. Zheng Suyu opened her mouth, a hard lump formed in her throat, and she could not make a sound. She had never intended to kill Anai Yang. Chapter 898. What on earth is going on? Zheng Lingling said that it wasn't poison, right? Why did Anai Yang die? What? Sweat formed in layers on Zheng Suyu's back as she covered her face with her hands and wept silently. Upon hearing the news, Anai Tsuehua burst into tears. "No. My Yang Yang is all right. She's just sleeping." Mrs. Zheng fainted. Dr. Jiang hurried to provide first aid to Mrs. Zheng. Mr. Zheng stood by the bed, his whole being numb like a body without a soul. Mom, are you all right?" Zheng Lingling was worried sick when she saw Mrs. Zheng collapse. Zheng Xianjing was busy trying to comfort Anai Tsuehua. The small bedroom was filled with sorrow. Zheng Lingling cried out, "Mom, you mustn't fall ill. Even though Yang Yang is gone, you still have Xianjing, you still have Yun Yun. They are your granddaughters." Under Dr. Jiang's resuscitation, Mrs. Zheng slowly opened her eyes cloudy with sadness. Yang Yang. Yang Yang. She couldn't believe that Anai Yang had left her, had left this home. What on earth is going on? Is this a dream? Shengguan Dehui steadied himself and asked Dr. Jiang, "Dr. Jiang, what illness did Yang Yang have? Why did she go so suddenly?" Dr. Jiang sighed. It was a sudden cardiac death. This disease usually shows symptoms 1 to 3 days before, such as drowsiness, pale complexion, fatigue and other signs. Zheng Suyu clutched the carpet beneath her. She remembered clearly Anai Yang had shown those symptoms when she took the medicine. She really did kill Anai Yang. It was really her. Zheng Suyu's face was filled with guilt and sadness. Shengguan Dehui frowned slightly. Yang Yang was only 19 years old, how could she have suffered from cardiac arrest? Dr. Jiang, with eyes red, said, "This disease doesn't discriminate by age, though it does also depend on individual constitution." He patted Shengguan Dihui's shoulder. "Dihui, I know it's hard to bear the grief of the younger generation passing before the older, but what's done is done, you should mourn." Shengguan Dihui clenched his fist and fiercely slammed the wall. His whole body trembled. Both Mr. and Mrs. Zheng could not believe the reality. Tears streamed down their faces. "Mom, Dad, you must mourn but take care of yourselves. The Zheng family still relies on you to lead," Zheng Lingling continued. "He'll go to send the funeral notice and tell everyone to come to Yang Yang's." Zheng Lingling wasn't finished speaking when Mr. Zheng interrupted her. "Don't send any funeral notice. No one is allowed to go. Yang Yang is not dead." "Dad." Zheng Lingling looked up at Mr. Zheng. "I know it's hard for you and it's hard for all of us. Yang Yang was such a clever and kind girl, we all loved her. But the dead cannot be brought back to life. Even if you don't want to face the reality, what's happened has happened. It's time to let Yang Yang rest in peace." Zheng Lingling's face appeared sorrowful. In fact, she was jubilant inside. She couldn't wait to send Yang to the crematorium. Afterward, the Zheng family would be theirs. Mr. Zheng looked at Zheng Lingling. "If you dare to go, Zheng Jun will no longer consider you his daughter." Dr. Jiang interjected timely. "Lingling, Yang Yang was your father's most beloved granddaughter. It's normal for him not to accept this reality so suddenly. Just listen to your father this time. Sending out the funeral notice now would only rub salt in his wounds. After all, Yang was already dead. Even without a funeral notice, it wouldn't change the fact that she was dead. If Zheng Lingling were to hurry to send the funeral notice, it would only attract criticism." Zheng Lingling understood the undertone of the doctor's words and wiped her tears. "I was just worried that seeing Yang Yang still lying here would make my father even more upset. I didn't think it through." Mr. Zheng didn't allow Zheng Lingling to send the funeral notice. For the time being, no one outside the Zheng family knew that Yang was dead. Even though no funeral notice was sent, they still needed to arrange for someone to keep vigil overnight. Currently, the Zheng family was old and young, sorrowful and vulnerable. Dr. Jiang nudged Zheng Lingling. Zheng Lingling instantly understood Dr. Jiang's hint and stepped forward. "Let our family of 3 keep vigil for Yang Yang tonight." Mrs. Zheng had already lost her ability to think. Chapter 899. Ni Tsuehua, like old Mrs. Zheng, hugged little Ni Yun and cried until she was gasping for breath. Little Ni Yun still didn't understand what life and death meant and said blankly, "Mommy, why are you crying? Why won't sister talk to me?" Hearing this, old Mrs. Zheng cried even harder. At this critical moment, only old Mr. Zheng kept a portion of his composure, nodding weakly. "All right, then I'll trouble you, Lingling." Zheng Lingling shook her head. "It's not a bother. I am Yang Yang's aunt. This is what I should do. Dad, please try to console Mom and ask her not to cry. Her health isn't good to begin with. If she harms her health from crying, Yang Yang won't be able to rest in peace down below." Dr. Jiang stepped forward and said, "Then I won't go home tonight either. Just in case something happens to Aching, he'll be nearby to take care of her." Old Mr. Zheng continued nodding. With Yang's death, the entire Zheng family's atmosphere was extremely oppressive. Zheng Xianjing didn't dare reveal her true feelings, and only when the door was closed could she laugh out loud. "Mom, it's great. Yang is finally dead." Zheng Lingling said with a smile, "That little bitch deserved to die long ago. I'm going to call your dad now and tell him to come back quickly." "Dad will be very happy when he hears this news," Zheng Xianjing continued. "Mom, do we really have to keep a vigil for Yang tonight?" Even though Zheng Xianjing was malicious, she was still a woman in her 20s. She had never kept a vigil for the dead before, and facing such an occasion for the first time, she couldn't help feeling panicked. Moreover, Yang had been killed by them. Zheng Xianjing had just recently finished watching a Hong Kong-style ghost movie. Zheng Lingling nodded. "Although Yang is dead, we can't take it lightly. We still have to maintain appearances." Now was the most vulnerable time for the Zheng family, and it was the perfect opportunity for them to show their good side. "Mom, do you think Yang will turn into a vengeful ghost and come for our lives?" Zheng Xianjing asked fearfully. Zheng Lingling laughed outright. "Silly child, there are no such things as ghosts in this world. If there really were ghosts in this world, who knows how many times she would have died already." Zheng Lingling never believed in superstitions. "Really?" Zheng Xianjing swallowed nervously. "Really?" Zheng Lingling nodded, then added, "I've lived for more than 40 years, I've crossed more bridges than you've walked roads. If there really were ghosts, wouldn't I have seen one by now? All right, Xianjing, don't scare yourself. Your dad, your granny Jiang and I will all be there. It's not like you'll be alone. With these words, Zheng Xianjing felt much more at ease. Soon, Sun Wu, looking travel-weary, returned from outside. The moment he entered the house, he couldn't wait to confirm with Zheng Lingling, "Is Ni Yang really dead?" "Really dead," Zheng Lingling nodded. A look of joy was difficult to hide on Sun Wu's face. "That's fantastic." Zheng Lingling added, "Be restrained later, don't let your emotions show on your face. Those two old fools still haven't accepted the reality, they don't even want to issue a death notice." According to Beijing customs, when someone dies in the family, firecrackers are to be set off. Old Mr. Zheng, however, wouldn't allow the issuance of a death notice, and he didn't even permit the setting off of firecrackers. Who cares whether they issue a death notice or not as long as she's dead? Sun Wu asked again to confirm, "Ni Yang is really dead? There's no mistake, right?" Zheng Lingling said with a smile, and Jiang checked personally, "How could there be a mistake?" "That's good." Sun Wu breathed a sigh of relief, then asked, "When will she be sent for cremation?" Zheng Lingling replied, "It will probably take a few more days. By the way, get cleaned up first, we have to keep a vigil tonight." Okay. Sun Wu went to the bathroom to take a shower. Night gradually fell. The murky darkness enveloped the Zheng family's villa. Caw, caw. The harsh, hoarse cries of crows came from outside, making people's skin crawl. Ni Yang lay on the spirit bed in the middle of the side hall. A censer burned 3 joss sticks, and beside it was a copper basin where paper money was burning. The burning paper money is also known as journey money. The road to the netherworld is not like the roads amongst the living. Crossing a bridge costs money, ferrying across the forgetful river costs money, and bribing the underworld messengers costs money. Therefore, someone must kneel in front of the basin, constantly burning paper money, and ensuring that the flame does not go out. Zheng Xianjing knelt in front of the basin burning paper money. Hearing footsteps, she feigned sincerity, "Yang, may your journey be smooth. Rest assured, I will take good care of grandfather and grandmother in your place." Chapter 900. Shengguan Dehui, looking exhausted, came downstairs and said to Zheng Lingling, "Mom and Dad were too heartbroken during the day and have already fallen asleep. Tingting isn't doing too well either. It's tough for you brother-in-law and Xianjing to take care of Yang here." Zheng Lingling nodded her head. "Dehui, rest assured, I'll take good care of Yang. You should go take care of Tingting. I'm worried Yang might not be able to cope with the loss." Sun Wu said, "Brother-in-law, we are all one family, there's no need for talk of hardship. Yang's sudden departure has left all of us deeply saddened. To think such a good child could just sigh, it really seems like the good die young." Shengguan Dehui painfully pinched his temples. Maybe that was just Yang's fate. After pausing, he continued, "Sister, brother-in-law, I'll go upstairs first then. Go on, get some sleep. You'll feel better. The deceased has passed on, the living must go on." Shengguan Dehui turned and went back upstairs. In a blink of an eye, only Zheng Lingling, Zheng Xianjing and Sun Wu, the family of 3, were left in the spacious side hall. The night grew ever darker. It was already deep into the night. Though it was already June, which should be a hot season, there was a bone-chilling coldness in the air. The Zheng family house fell into an eerie silence, without a single sound to be heard. Zheng Xianjing huddled her shoulders. "Mom, I'm a bit scared." For some reason, she always felt something was off, as if a pair of eyes were staring at her from somewhere. "What's there to be afraid of?" Zheng Lingling said nonchalantly. "Aren't Mom and Dad here?" Sun Wu said, "Xianjing, you must do great things in the future. How can you be so scared by just a corpse?" Just at that moment, footsteps sounded from behind them. In the dead of silence, the faint sound of footsteps seemed extraordinarily terrifying. Zheng Xianjing swallowed hard and quickly hid behind Zheng Lingling, nearly knocking over the burning brazier, her face ashen. "Xianjing, what's wrong? Why are you so frightened?" A familiar voice filled the air. Zheng Xianjing turned her head to see that it was Dr. Jiang, and she let out a sigh of relief. It wasn't a ghost. Knowing everyone else was asleep, Zheng Lingling dropped the pretense and said with a smile, "This child is afraid of ghosts." Dr. Jiang walked over to Zheng Xianjing. "Xianjing, Grandma Jiang tells you that there are no ghosts in this world, there's nothing for you to be afraid of." "Okay," Zheng Xianjing nodded. Zheng Lingling then said, "Auntie Jiang, they won't even let us publish the obituary. When can Ni Yang be taken for cremation? Don't let her body end up rotting and maggot-ridden in the house." Summer was indeed the season when maggots bred the fastest. Dr. Jiang replied, "That's not for you to worry about. If it really gets to that, your parents will be the ones in a rush." Zheng Lingling nodded. Why did An Yang die? Zheng Suyu, seemingly coming out of nowhere, grabbed Zheng Lingling by the collar and demanded, "Didn't you say that medicine wasn't poisonous? Then why did An Yang die?" If she had known that medicine could be lethal, she would never have hurt An Yang. Zheng Lingling's face immediately changed. What are you talking about? Even though the Zheng family members were asleep, what if someone came downstairs for water and overheard this? Dr. Jiang pulled Zheng Suyu aside and whispered, "Suyu, the dead cannot be resurrected, calm down. The dead have passed, but the living must continue to live." The last sentence was gentle yet heavy, turning Zheng Suyu's face completely pale. You killed An Yang. It was you all who killed An Yang. Zheng Suyu sobbed, "You people will get your comeuppance." Dr. Jiang fiercely squeezed Zheng Suyu's arm. "Don't forget, it was you who personally gave An Yang that medicine to drink." Zheng Suyu closed her eyes, her face covered with tears. She didn't understand why her life had turned out this way. It was her fault. She had caused An Yang's death. She was a sinner. Just then, the crystal light on the ceiling suddenly went out. Creak, a gust of cold wind blew in from outside, opening the door that had been securely closed, and a layer of white smoke arose in the dim room. The chill was suffocating. The surroundings became utterly quiet in an instant. Everyone stared unblinkingly at the door, their pupils dilating. Even Zheng Lingling and Dr. Jiang, who didn't believe in ghosts, felt a chill in their hearts. Zheng Xianjing was so scared that she clung tightly to Sun Wu. "Dad. Dad. Is it An Yang who has come back? She's come back for revenge." Sun Wu swallowed. "No, there are no ghosts in this world, don't scare yourself." Chapter 901. Tap tap tap, footsteps floated through the air, light and ethereal. In the darkness, a vague figure could be seen, dressed in a plain white cheongsam. This was An Yang. Zheng Xianjing turned to look at the spirit bed, only to see that the corpse that had been there was now gone. Thud. Her heart pounded violently against her ribcage, as if it could leap out at any moment. Once, again and yet again. Zheng Xianjing shook Sun Wu hard, her voice trembling as she cried, "Dad, Dad. It's An Yang. An Yang has come back." Sun Wu was also terribly frightened, but he kept reassuring himself, "Hallucination. Hallucination. This must be a hallucination." As the figure drew closer, the faces of Zheng Lingling and Dr. Jiang paled. She had come back. An Yang had really come back. An Yang had come back for revenge. Zheng Suyu sat on the ground watching An Yang approach step by step, crying out, Yang, is that you? Have you come back?" "It is I." Her voice was as faint as ever, but within that faintness, there was a bizarre sense of emptiness, as if coming from the abyss of hell, chilling to the core. Loneliness of the road to the underworld is too much to bear alone. I've come to take you with me to walk together. I don't want to die. I don't want to die." Zheng Xianjing couldn't bear to look directly at An Yang and collapsed on the floor, curling up into a ball. "No, it wasn't me who killed you. If anyone should go, it should be this madwoman alone. This has nothing to do with us." Zheng Lingling's teeth chattered. An Yang slowly turned her face mechanical-like. Under the dim light, her features were indiscernible, only a pair of eyes devoid of any pupils visible, the whites of her eyes laced with red veins, utterly devoid of vitality. Terrifying. She looked no different from the female ghosts in popular Hong Kong horror films. "My death was so horrible, so horrific." She extended her finger towards them, her voice tragic. You and you, none of you will escape. You're all going to accompany me." Her voice seemed coated with a layer of chill, piercing through them. This horrifying visual onslaught plunged them into endless fear. Time seemed to stand still. A debtor for every debt. Your death has nothing to do with us. Dr. Jiang restrained the panic within her, continuing, "The one who poisoned you was Zheng Suyu. We were just here to watch over you." Ha! A pale, icy cold hand clasped directly on Dr. Jiang's neck, slowly lifting her. The sudden onset of suffocation turned Dr. Jiang's face red. Her throat felt as if it was being crushed. The pain was unbearable, excruciatingly so. "Jiang Yan, do you really think I'm unaware of my own cause of death? You gave the poison to Zheng Suyu, you instructed her to do it. You are the main culprit, the murderer." Dr. Jiang's feet kicked wildly in midair, but hit nothing. Zheng Lingling hurriedly knelt down, kowtowing, Yes. The murderer is Jiang Yan. She's the main culprit. The one who poisoned you was Jiang Yan. She did it all by herself. Jiang Yan is a heartless, malicious woman. This has nothing to do with us." When she was about to poison you, I even spoke out to stop her. But this malicious woman wouldn't listen. If you want revenge, go after Jiang Yan. Tear her to pieces, take her to hell. Please spare our family of 3. We don't want to die. Zheng Lingling's forehead was bloody. A faint smell of blood permeated the air. Zheng Lingling was a person who greatly valued her life. Of course, at this moment, preservation was paramount. After all, Dr. Jiang was already old, she had lived long enough. But their family of 3 had great days ahead. They had many blessings yet to enjoy. Their family of 3 could not die. Hearing this, Sun Wu also hurriedly knelt beside Zheng Lingling. It was all Jiang Yan's doing. That malicious woman tried to poison and kill you. It has nothing to do with us. Take her away quickly. Let Jiang Yan be thrown into a pot of boiling oil. Let her be chopped into thousands of pieces. This really has nothing to do with us. Dr. Jiang looked incredulously at Zheng Lingling and Sun Wu kneeling on the ground. She had never imagined that they would push all the blame onto her. In fact, before this, Dr. Jiang had prepared herself and Zheng Suyu to take on all the responsibility, to spare Zheng Lingling and Sun Wu's family of 3. Chapter 902. But now this family of 3 had the audacity to bite back. There was a world of difference between stepping forward voluntarily and being pushed out. At that moment, Dr. Jiang's anger was ignited. The ugliness of human nature was fully displayed. Woo. Dr. Jiang painfully struggled. Do you have something to say? Anai Yang asked softly, lowering her eyes. Woo. Dr. Jiang nodded. Anai Yang slowly released her. Fine, then I'll let you speak your mind. Dr. Jiang fell to the ground with a thud, her neck now marked by 5 distinct finger marks, gasping heavily. Regaining a bit of strength, she backhanded Zheng Lingling with a slap. Slap. I'll kill you today, you ungrateful daughter. I worked tirelessly to bring you from M country to Beijing, to give you the life of a pampered lady, to eat and drink well every day. And this is how you repay me. Wretch. You're just a wretch. The one who deserves to go to hell, the one who deserves to be fried in oil is you. Wretch. Zheng Lingling was first slapped by Dr. Jiang, then wrestled with her. In that instant, all blood relations and familial love disintegrated. Shattered. It's all your fault. If it weren't for your disgraceful schemes of replacing the peach with the plum and the baby swapping, I would never have ended up in the Zheng family. If I hadn't come to the Zheng family, I wouldn't have been haunted by evil spirits today. I wouldn't have been haunted, and our family of 3 wouldn't be in mortal danger. It's all your fault. All because of you, you evil woman. Ungrateful daughter. Ungrateful daughter. Dr. Jiang angrily said, I, Jiang Yan, have been clever all my life, only to find that I've raised a thankless wretch. Today I will strangle you to cleanse our Jiang family. She had tried her best to give Zheng Lingling a good life, yet instead of being grateful, Zheng Lingling had blamed her. Thankless wretches. All of them thankless wretches. Scoundrel. You don't deserve to be my daughter. Dr. Jiang was truly furious, her handling of Zheng Lingling's hair messy and chaotic, with broken hair all over the floor. The air was tinged with a faint smell of blood. Fearing that Zheng Lingling might get hurt, Sun Wu also joined in. The 3 wrestled together. Bang bang bang. Surrounding vases and antique pieces shattered. At some unknown moment, the crystal lamp above their heads turned on, but the brawlers did not notice and continued to scuffle. Someone. Close the door. An aged yet powerful voice echoed through the air. Then came the sound of orderly footsteps. Bang. All doors and windows of the side hall were shut. Then, seen approaching from the doorway were Enai Tsuehua and Shangguan Dehui, supporting Elder Zheng and his wife. Grandpa, Grandma. Enai Yang removed the mask from her face. The people on the ground only then realized, looking incredulously ahead. Zheng Xianjing stared at Enai Yang and said, You're not a ghost? Enai Yang slightly curved her lips. Of course I am not. You didn't die? Zheng Xianjing widened her eyes. Enai Yang lightly raised an eyebrow. What do you think? In that instant, Zheng Xianjing's blood ran cold, even more frightened than when she first saw a ghost. Because she knew. She was done. She was truly done. At that moment, Zheng Lingling also came to her senses, hastily crawling to Elder Zheng's wife, crying and saying, Mom, it's not like what you've seen. Please listen to my explanation. It's all because of that evil woman. I didn't mean to harm Yang Yang. It was that evil woman, all these ideas were hers. Please forgive us. Get out. Elder Zheng's wife kicked Zheng Lingling away. Old Mrs. Zheng had heard everything. She had heard everything. Zheng Lingling wasn't the daughter of her sister, Chao Lingrui, Zheng Lingling was the daughter of Dr. Jiang. She truly hadn't expected that all these years she had been nurturing two ingrates. One was her long-time old sister. One was the daughter she treated as her own. How ironic. Lingling. Where have you hidden Lingling? Old Mrs. Zheng approached Dr. Jiang, grabbing her by the shoulders. Lingling? At this moment, Dr. Jiang remained calm, smiling. Zhao Qing, you've been smart all your life, yet you couldn't even recognize your own niece. How does that feel? Lingling? Lingling. She's dead, Dr. Jiang continued. The person who killed Chao Lingrui was you. If you had realized sooner that Jiang Xiaoman wasn't Chao Lingrui, perhaps Chao Lingrui wouldn't have died. Bastard. You bastard. Old Mrs. Zheng fiercely slapped Dr. Jiang. Dr. Jiang's face was turned aside, a clear slap mark now visible on her cheek. Zhao Qing, today I lost. But I didn't lose to you. Dr. Jiang's face twisted into a mocking smile. I never dreamed that I would be undone by a little girl. She had considered every possibility, but she hadn't anticipated that Ni Yang would blow up. Dr. Jiang had never underestimated Ni Yang. She knew Ni Yang was different from ordinary people, but she had never expected to ultimately lose to Ni Yang. Jiang Yin, my sister treated you well. Why did you treat her this way? Dr. Jiang and old Mrs. Zheng's sister, Zhao Lan, were classmates. The two had been close friends since childhood, and Zhao Lan even favored Dr. Jiang over old Mrs. Zheng. Back then, Dr. Jiang's family was very poor, but she was determined to study abroad with Zhao Hong. So Zhao Lan helped fund Dr. Jiang, allowing her to smoothly leave the country. Because Zhao Lan and Dr. Jiang were best friends, old Mrs. Zheng had never doubted Dr. Jiang. Dr. Jiang turned to look at old Mrs. Zheng. She wore fine silks, had a crowd of people always attending her, and a husband who treasured her like a gem. Me. At 20, I was abandoned, left to give birth alone, living under someone else's roof, worrying every day whether I'd have enough to eat. She wouldn't eat leftovers, washed her hands with yuan per bucket sterilized water, and even her family's pet dog ate better than I did. Tell me, why wouldn't I behave this way? Actually, life abroad hadn't been easy for Dr. Jiang. The cost of living overseas was very high. She was too embarrassed to keep asking Zhao Lan for money, so she adopted a work-study approach, and the seeds of hatred were quietly sown then. And Zhao Lan? She didn't offer money when she saw Dr. Jiang wasn't asking for it. Zhao Lan never cared whether she had eaten enough or had money to spend. She envied Zhao Lan. Why should Zhao Lan have everything without doing anything while she, who worked so hard, couldn't have the life she wanted? After completing her studies smoothly, Zhao Lan married a man of Chinese descent who had pursued her for a long time. Dr. Jiang too started a relationship with a classmate. A year later they each had a daughter, one after the other. Dr. Jiang thought she could finally settle down, but she hadn't anticipated that her partner would be faithless. After their daughter was born, he completely disappeared. Seeing her plight, Zhao Lan let her and her daughter move into her residence. But Dr. Jiang didn't need Zhao Lan's sympathy. Living under Zhao Lan's roof, she watched Zhao Lan's family lead a blissfully happy life, and she nearly went mad with jealousy. Every day she cursed Zhao Lan and her family to die. Finally, one day her curses came true. Zhao Lan's family died in a plane crash. Both spouses died instantly, leaving behind the young Chao Lingrui. It was then that Dr. Jiang knew her opportunity had arrived. Chapter 903. Retribution is here. Zhao Lan and her husband had no relatives or friends abroad, and in the hasty moments before the plane crash, they left a will entrusting their young daughter Chao Lingrui to Dr. Jiang, hoping Dr. Jiang would take her back to China to find her sister, Zhao Qing. After receiving this news, Dr. Jiang was ecstatic. She swiftly handled Zhao Lan's affairs and set off for China with Chao Lingrui. At the time, Chao Lingrui was just a 7-year-old child. With her parents both dead, Dr. Jiang became her only support. While her parents were alive, she was the cherished pearl in their palms, always able to have whatever she wanted. After they died, she became an orphan, alone and helpless. Her formerly gentle aunt suddenly showed her true colors, subjecting her to beatings and scoldings, mockery and sarcasm. Even Jiang Xiaoman, her best friend, began to bully her. Young Chao Lingrui didn't understand why they had become this way. Faced with punches and kicks, she dared not fight back. All she wanted was for Dr. Jiang to quickly take her to Beijing, because her mother had mentioned she had an aunt there. Finally, Dr. Jiang took Chao Lingrui aboard a ship bound for their homeland. Chao Lingrui thought she had finally seen hope, but little did she know, this was just the beginning of her nightmare. Dr. Jiang despised Zhao Lan deeply, she naturally wouldn't bring Chao Lingrui back to a life of comfort. As it so happened, Jiang Xiaoman was about the same age as Chao Lingrui, and so Dr. Jiang schemed a plan to swap the two girls. That night, after brutally beating Chao Lingrui, she stuffed her into a sack and threw her into the deep sea. The sea waters engulfed Chao Lingrui's body. With this, Dr. Jiang finally got her revenge. What good was Zhao Lan's family background? What use was her beauty? What was the point of her marrying well? She still lost to herself. She couldn't even protect her own child. She was utterly defeated. Thinking of this, Dr. Jiang felt an immense satisfaction. Looking up at Madame Zheng, she laughed and said, "You and your stupid sister are the same. You have both lost to me." "Ah. Both have lost to me. Do you know how your niece Chao Lingrui died? She drowned in the sea. Just before she died, she begged me like a dog, saying she didn't want to die." "Haha." Dr. Jiang laughed loudly and then said, "Oh, and do you know who Jiang Xiaoman is? Jiang Xiaoman is my daughter. Zhao Qing, the daughter you've raised for so many years, is actually Jiang Yan's daughter. Xianjing is also my granddaughter. Zhao Qing, not only have you lost, but you've lost miserably. Your sister Zhao Lan's spirit in heaven will never forgive you. If I am to go to hell, then you'll surely go to hell too. You'll accompany me down there." Watching everything unfold to this point, Zheng Lingling panicked. She hadn't expected Dr. Jiang to reveal everything. She still wanted to lead a good life. She was still set to inherit everything from the Zheng family. She was the daughter of Madame Zheng. She was... No, Mom. Zheng Lingling clutched desperately at Madame Zheng's sleeves. "Mom, I am your daughter. I am Chao Lingrui. Don't listen to that malicious woman's nonsense. Xianjing is also your biological granddaughter. Don't be swayed by this mad woman's ramblings. She wants to harm me. Mom, don't believe her. Get out. You get out of my sight." Madame Zheng couldn't bear to look directly at Zheng Lingling and the rest of Zheng Xianjing's family. Every time she saw them, she was reminded of her sister and brother-in-law's unjust deaths. "Mom?" Zheng Lingling held tightly onto Madame Zheng's legs, refusing to let go. "I want leave. I am your daughter. Xianjing is the heir of the Zheng family. I want go. You've brought such misery upon our family, yet you still have the face to say such things." Madame Zheng kicked Zheng Lingling furiously several times in a row. Madame Zheng showed no mercy, leaving Zheng Lingling bruised and swollen. Grandma, please don't hit my mom." Zheng Xianjing rushed over to embrace Madame Zheng. Although Zheng Xianjing too had followed in Zheng Lingling's footsteps in committing misdeeds, she never knew that Zheng Lingling was actually Dr. Jiang's daughter. This revelation was like a surreal dream. "I am not your grandma." Madame Zheng pushed Zheng Xianjing away. Zheng Xianjing fell to the ground, tearfully looking up at Madame Zheng. "Grandma?" Madame Zheng had never treated her like this before. Suddenly faced with this turn of events, Zheng Xianjing couldn't cope with the shock. Dr. Jiang laughed and said, "Qing, what's wrong with you? How can you fail to recognize your own granddaughter?" "Jiang Yan." Madame Zheng lashed out fiercely, grasping Dr. Jiang by the throat. "You are not human. You beast. You deserve to die." Chapter 904, Retribution is Here. _2. Old Mrs. Zheng was fuming with rage. Thinking of her young niece and her sister and brother-in-law who died young, she wished she could kill the Dr. Jiang. Dr. Jiang smiled and said, "I am already over 60 years old. I've lived enough. I've lived longer than Zhao Lan. I'm not wronged. Kill me, Zhao Qing, just kill me." Dr. Jiang was deliberately provoking old Mrs. Zheng. Although she was suspected of murder, if old Mrs. Zheng really strangled her to death, old Mrs. Zheng would also be legally responsible. Anyway, she was facing a dead end, and if she could drag Zhao Qing down with her before she died, it would be worth it. "Grandma, stay calm, don't fall for her trap. The law won't let her get away with it," and Ai Yang pulled old Mrs. Zheng back. Old Mrs. Zheng was sobbing uncontrollably. And Ai Tsuehua immediately supported old Mrs. Zheng and comforted her softly. Although she had been prepared, and Ai Tsuehua still hadn't expected things to turn out so twisted. Zheng Lingling was actually Dr. Jiang's daughter. That was simply unbelievable. Old Mrs. Zheng turned her head to look at Zheng Suyu. "And you, Suyu? You've disappointed me so much. How could you poison Yang Yang? If Yang Yang hadn't noticed something was wrong, she would be dead by now. Why would you conspire with outsiders to harm Yang Yang? Yang Yang is your own grandniece. How could you bring yourself to do it? Why did you do this? Why?" Old Mrs. Zheng looked at Zheng Suyu, her emotions on the verge of collapse. These people. One of them was the daughter she had raised for many years, Another was the son-in-law she had personally selected, one was the granddaughter she had watched grow up, another was an old friend of many years, and another was her own sister-in-law. She could have never dreamed that they would betray her. When Ni Yang proposed this plan, old Mrs. Zheng had thought Ni Yang's idea was absurd. They were her own family. How could she have such suspicions about her own relatives? It was only after Ni Yang's earnest persuasion that old Mrs. Zheng reluctantly agreed to the matter, and she had instructed Ni Yang to apologize to everyone if they couldn't probe anything. But reality had slapped her hard in the face. "Sister, I'm sorry." Zheng Suyu's face was streaked with tears. "I wronged Yang Yang." She thought she was not to be trusted because she was young. But she never expected that Ni Yang was so much better than her. She could only succumb in front of Dr. Jiang. But Ni Yang was able to pull through by her own strength and turn the tides. "Suyu, why did you poison Yang Yang?" Old Mr. Zheng looked at Zheng Suyu and said, "You are not in cahoots with Jiang Yan, right? Did Jiang Yan threaten you? What did she use to threaten you?" Zheng Suyu bit her lip, glanced back at Dr. Jiang and didn't dare to tell the truth. "Speak." Old Mr. Zheng shook Zheng Suyu's shoulders. Zheng Suyu opened her mouth and then said, "She didn't threaten me, I did it voluntarily." Dr. Jiang had accomplices outside. If she confessed everything, that child would be doomed. At this moment she couldn't provoke Dr. Jiang. Dr. Jiang sneered, "Zheng Jun, you pride yourself on being noble and never doing anything underhanded. You'd never expect that your own sister is a murderer, right? And she wanted to kill your own granddaughter. How does that feel? If there's a hell, there were so many people to accompany her down to its boiling oil cauldrons. With such company on the road to the Yellow Springs, what did she have to fear?" Old Mr. Zheng was furious. "Speak. Just speak." Zheng Suyu bit her lips tightly, refusing to say a single word. Ni Yang took out a newspaper from the table and handed it to Zheng Suyu. "Auntie, in fact, that child died 25 years ago." "Died?" Zheng Suyu's eyes widened as she felt completely unable to breathe. Yang, you're kidding with me," she said. Ni Yang sighed. "I'm not joking with you, she's really dead. Just look at this newspaper and you'll understand everything." Zheng Suyu took the newspaper, trembling all over. Dead. Truly dead. The person she had been desperately protecting for 25 years had become nothing but a skeleton, and she was still in the dark. Tears soaked the newspaper. "Bao bao bao bao. My bao bao." Zheng Suyu reached out to touch the black and white photo on the paper, crying her heart out. These 2 golden bracelets were placed on Baobao's wrist by her own hands on Baobao's first birthday. Her Baobao was still so little. Chapter 905. Retribution is here. _3. Dr. Jiang's face subtly changed as he looked at Ni Yang. "You've even found out about this?" Ni Yang's gaze was cold. "If you don't want people to know, you shouldn't have done it." "Ha." The corners of Dr. Jiang's mouth were filled with a mocking curve. "I still underestimated you after all. If Zheng Lingling and Zheng Xianjing were half as smart as Ni Yang, their family wouldn't have fallen to such a fate." "What child?" Mr. Zheng was momentarily unable to react. Ni Yang turned to look at Zheng Suyu. "You'd better let grandmother say it. Bao is my child." Zheng Suyu clutched the side of the newspaper with the photo, pressing it tightly against her face. "My poor child." Bao. Mr. Zheng was taken aback. "Suyu? Do you understand what you're saying?" Zheng Suyu had never married. How could she possibly have a child? "I'm very lucid, brother. I'm very lucid now." Zheng Suyu cried as she recounted the past. Back in the day, Zheng Suyu was not only talented and known as the Belle of Beijing for her intellect. She was also quite beautiful. There's no telling how many talented men bent over backward for her. Those who pursued Zheng Suyu lined up from the gates of Sijio City directly to the gates of the Zheng family home. But a talented woman generally longs for romance. Zheng Suyu looked down on the sons of Sijio City's nobility. Instead, she fell for a poor boy of humble birth. The poor boy was really poor, but he was also really handsome and he had a sweet-talking mouth. They hadn't known each other for 3 months when Zheng Suyu gave herself to him. Men have a bad tendency. Once they get what they want, they no longer cherish it. After getting together with Zheng Suyu, the poor boy continued his womanizing ways, relying on his looks to flirt around and embrace women from one side to the other. Zheng Suyu was a talented woman with integrity, naturally unable to tolerate such a person, so she cut off all ties with the poor boy. After suffering from a broken heart, the Belle of Beijing lost her former glory, became sullen and could never recover. It wasn't until one day she discovered she was pregnant. As an unwed woman from a distinguished family, she obviously couldn't publicize her pregnancy, so she made up an excuse to temporarily leave the Zheng family until she gave birth to the child and returned home after its first month. After quietly giving birth, she rented a room outside, hired a wet nurse, and visited her child every few days until one day when she returned home after seeing her child, she happened to see Dr. Jiang and Zheng Lingling quietly plotting something. Because Zheng Suyu had already had her suspicions about these two, she quietly went to the side to listen in. Unexpectedly, she overheard an earth-shattering secret. Turns out, Zheng Lingling was not Zhao Lan's daughter. Zheng Lingling was Dr. Jiang's daughter. The real Chao Lingrui had long been thrown into the sea by Dr. Jiang. Moreover, Zheng Suyu overheard that Dr. Jiang had instructed Zheng Lingling to put slow-acting poison in Granny Zheng's chicken soup. They wanted to poison Granny Zheng to death. Upon hearing this, Zheng Suyu was scared stiff. As the belle of Beijing, the greatest blow in her life had been being betrayed by a man. She had never encountered something like this before. For a while she didn't know what to do. In her panic, she knocked over an antique vase beside her. Zheng Suyu immediately ran away, intending to tell Granny Zheng and Mr. Zheng about the plot. Unfortunately, Granny Zheng and Mr. Zheng were out on business that day, and Zheng Suyu waited a long time without them returning. At this time, Dr. Jiang came with a bowl of medicine, smiling at Zheng Suyu. "The wet nurse taking care of your daughter is my sister-in-law." Zheng Suyu was stunned at the moment. Her mind was consumed with why Dr. Jiang knew about this. What Zheng Suyu didn't know was that from the moment she gave birth to that child, Dr. Jiang had been plotting. Knowing that Zheng Suyu was looking for a wet nurse, she arranged for her own sister-in-law to go. She was leaving herself a way out. In case she was caught one day in the Zheng family, she would still have a way to turn things around. Dr. Jiang had been scheming for 2 years and finally one day the opportunity to use this information arose. To protect her young daughter, Zheng Suyu had no choice but to drink the medicine. Day after day, year after year, Zheng Lingling brought her a bowl of medicine. Day by day, Zheng Suyu's psychological state deteriorated, becoming gaunt and eventually mad, unrecognizable by anyone. The Zheng family thought she was troubled by love, but in reality she was being poisoned into madness. At this point, Zheng Suyu's tears streamed down her face. Chapter 906. Retribution is here. _4. Suyu, why didn't you tell me these things? I am your brother. Old Master Zheng's voice was filled with sorrow. Foolish, Suyu. You've been too foolish. If Zheng Suyu had spoken out earlier, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Zheng Suyu cried, I didn't know how to tell you my Baobao was in their hands. If I had told you, Baobao would have lost his life. At that moment she couldn't care about anything else. All she wanted was to protect her child. But you still failed to protect that child. A year later that child met a violent death, said Ni Yang in a shallow tone. If you had told Grandma and Grandpa about this earlier, perhaps that child might not have died. Just like this time, if you had trusted me, I wouldn't have had to resort to blowing things up. Have you ever thought, if I didn't have medical skills, today it wouldn't have been as simple as just being blown up? Ni Yang had died once before. She valued life more than anyone. Although she knew Zheng Suyu had her difficulties, she still couldn't let it go. It was so close. She had nearly died. Zheng Suyu was stunned. She seemed like a statue. She was too cowardly. Not only had she caused the death of her own daughter, but she had also nearly caused Ni Yang's death. Yang, I'm sorry. Zheng Suyu cried out in apology, then suddenly pulled out a dagger from nowhere and charged toward Dr. Jiang. Bitch, give me back my daughter. Why did you kill my Baobao? She was only 2 years old. Just 2. She was going to avenge her daughter. Dr. Jiang didn't dodge. Instead, she looked at Zheng Suyu with a smile. Come on. Kill me. Stab me here. Zheng Suyu, if you're still a mother, then hurry up and avenge your pitiful daughter. Otherwise, I will look down on you. Already at the peak of her rage, Zheng Suyu's anger was further ignited by these words. Old Master Zheng hugged Zheng Suyu tightly. Suyu, don't be impulsive. I'm going to kill her. Suyu, brother is begging you. Please don't do anything foolish. Old Master Zheng knelt down before Zheng Suyu. The Zheng family was already shattered. He couldn't let anything happen to Zheng Suyu. Brother, don't do this. Zheng Suyu also knelt down and the siblings sobbed together. Dr. Jiang sat on the ground, laughing wildly. That's when the sound of police sirens came from outside. Several police officers, led by the butler, walked into the side hall. Due to the complexity of the case, everyone present was taken to the police station. Zheng Lingling, Sun Wu, and the family of 3 Zheng Xianjing refused to admit their guilt regarding murder and poisoning, vehemently defending themselves. However, Dr. Jiang confessed without any reservation. She knew she could not escape this time. After so many years of luxurious living, she was content. Although Zheng Lingling and the Sun Wu family of 3 did not confess, N.I. Yang had already collected solid evidence, which, along with the many witnesses, made it impossible for them to deny the charges. In the first trial, Dr. Jiang, Zheng Lingling, and Sun Wu were sentenced to death for murder and attempted murder by poisoning. Zheng Xianjing was sentenced to 20 years imprisonment for attempted murder and poisoning. Zheng Suyu and Old Master Zheng went to Hospital No. 68's mortuary to retrieve the child's body. After 25 years, they saw the pitiful child again. Zheng Suyu's emotions completely collapsed. Curled up in the small freezer due to the preservation, her body turned purple from the cold. Bao bao, bao bao. Zheng Suyu cared no more, immediately holding the child in her arms. In this world, a mother will never scorn her own child. Even if the child had become a cold corpse. Old Master Zheng sighed deeply and forcibly separated her from the child. Suyu, don't do this, the child is already gone. After the child was cremated and buried, Old Master Zheng hired a monk to perform an elaborate ritual for the child, hoping for her quick reincarnation. Following this incident, Zheng Suyu's health, which had been improving, began to rapidly deteriorate. A few days later, she moved into the nearby nunnery to begin a life of repentance and constant companionship with the ancient Buddha. In her life she had done too many wrong things. She was atoning for herself. And for the salvation of that child. The series of events that befell the Zheng family quickly became the talk of the elite circles, evoking much lamentation. No one expected Zheng Suyu to have a child out of wedlock. Even less could they have imagined that Zheng Lingling and Dr. Jiang would commit such heinous acts. Chapter 907. Retribution is here. _5. Dr. Jiang, Zheng Lingling, and Sun Wu were executed that day. Old Mrs. Zheng bought lots of joss paper, took it to the crossroad and burned it. Sister, brother-in-law Lingling, I've wronged your family of 3. It was my lack of discernment, fostering a tiger to invite trouble. Today is the day that ungrateful family was shot. Sister, brother-in-law Lingling, can you see this? Strangely enough, though it had been clear skies, rain began to fall in the afternoon. The rain continued for 2 days. By the second day the weather cleared up. With such a major incident in the Zheng family, N.I. Tsuehua and Shangguan Dehui feared that staying in the old Zheng house might be too emotionally painful for the 2 elderly, as every corner reminded them of Zheng Lingling, Sun Wu, and Zheng Xianjing. Thus, they suggested that the elders move to Jinghua village with them. The roads to Jinghua village had been fixed, making transportation convenient, and the village had fresh air. Plus, the N.I. family's house was well renovated and more comfortable to live in. Old Mr. Zheng and Old Mrs. Zheng were very willing. That very day they dismissed all the servants of the Zheng family and moved to Jinghua village. N.I. Tsuehua and Shangguan Dehui had moved from Jinghua village to the Zheng house in winter, and now they were moving back in the summertime. Learning that N.I. Yang and the others had moved back, the villagers of Jinghua village were very happy. Worried they might have nothing to eat upon just returning, each household brought over a lot of food. Old Mrs. Zheng said with a smile, "The people here are really warm-hearted." Old Mr. Zheng nodded, "Indeed." Seeing that Old Mr. Zheng and Old Mrs. Zheng had moved over, N.I. Yang said, "Why don't we bring Grandma over too?" N.I. Yang was referring to Old Mrs. Shangguan. The Shangguan family only had Old Mrs. Shangguan by herself, with Shangguan Su and Shangguan Shi living outside. They usually only came back on weekends and sometimes they didn't return for weeks. Although Shangguan Dehui and N.I. Tsuehua and N.I. Yang visited her every week, rain or shine, the old lady was inevitably lonely. You get lonely when you're old. Isn't it just about having some liveliness? Since the N.I. family had plenty of rooms with their house, even 10 or 8 more people could fit. Hearing this, N.I. Tsuehua immediately nodded. Yang really thinks of everything. I've been so busy I didn't even consider it. Your dad and I will go and bring Grandma over now. Old Mrs. Zheng and Old Mr. Zheng also nodded in agreement. That's right, that's right. Ting, don't busy yourself. Hurry and go with Dehui to bring your in-laws over. N.I. Yang then said, I can drive to pick her up. You both stay home and get things ready. N.I. Tsuehua exclaimed in surprise, Yang, when did you learn to drive? She didn't even know. N.I. Yang smiled and said, Mo Chishan taught me. She had to bring up Mo Chishan to avoid her mother's suspicion. Oh. N.I. Tsuehua didn't suspect anything and continued, Then drive slowly and be careful on the road. I will, don't worry. Old Mr. Zheng called out to Anai Yang. Yang, wait a moment. What is it, Grandpa? Anai Yang turned back to look at old Mr. Zheng. Old Mr. Zheng continued, Yang, your grandma will be here soon. To avoid calling someone wrong in the future, you should call us Grandpa and Grandma from now on. Old Mrs. Zheng nodded, I think what your grandpa said makes sense. Although the custom in Beijing is that children born to daughters with no sons in the house should call their grandparents Grandpa and Grandma, old Mr. Zheng and old Mrs. Zheng didn't care about these things. Grandpa and Grandma, as long as there is kinship, it's all the same. Okay, Grandpa and Grandma, Anai Yang quickly changed her way of addressing them. Anai Yang didn't buy a sedan. This car belonged to the Zheng family. Since both elders had moved in, it was inconvenient not to have a car. Just as Anai Yang opened the car door, Gooden came running over from afar. Sister Anai Yang. You're back. Everyone just said you were back and I didn't believe it. Gooden. Anai Yang reached out and touched Gooden's little head. Sister Anai Yang, is this your car? Gooden asked. Anai Yang shook her head. No, it belongs to my grandpa and grandma. Gooden laughed and said, if it's your grandpa and grandma's, isn't that just the same as yours? After all, you're all family. Sister Anai Yang, you're really silly. Anai Yang said, Gooden, it's not the same. Only things earned by one's own effort can truly be considered one's own. This car wasn't bought by Sister Anai Yang herself, so it doesn't belong to Sister Anai Yang. Chapter 908. Retribution is here. _6. Oh, I see. Gooden nodded, not quite understanding, then asked, Sister Anai Yang, can you still drive? Anai Yang nodded. Wow. Gooden exclaimed with admiration. Sister Anai Yang, you're amazing. My older sister can't even drive. Anai Yang opened the car door. Do you want to get in? Shall I take you for a ride? Gooden hesitated, then said, Sister Anai Yang, you have things to do, I won't bother you. Anai Yang smiled and said, I'm going to the city to pick up my grandma and bring her home. If you're free, you can join me. I'll be nice to chat on the road, and anyway, my grandma is no stranger. Sure. Gooden was thrilled and immediately got into the car, sitting in the passenger seat. This was Gooden's first time in a sedan, excitedly touching this and looking at that. Having a rare chance to touch a car, Anai Yang immediately showed Gooden some driving techniques. Gooden was so excited he almost went crazy. Sister Anai Yang, you're so amazing. I feel like I'm flying. Sister Anai Yang, be careful. There's a car up ahead. There was a sharp turn ahead and another sedan too. It looked like they were about to crash, but Anai Yang didn't slow down in the slightest. A dashing fishtail. Swish. The car passed the bend. Man, that car was incredible, said the driver in the car across, sitting stunned at the wheel. He even thought he was dreaming. What, don't you recognize your junior sister anymore? A gentle male voice came from the back seat. Yes, sitting in the driver's seat was Wang Ziki. Hearing this, Wang Ziki's eyes widened in disbelief. Really? Are you serious? He continued, Master Du, you're not joking with me, right? His junior sister was that good? Wang Ziki had been driving for several years and considered himself skilled, but he couldn't even see the shadow of that car just now. Why would I joke with you? Master Du turned a page of the Buddhist scripture, his expression indifferent. Anai Yang was truly impressive. He knew every detail of the Zheng family incident. He had originally planned to help Anai Yang, especially since he had promised Mo Qishan to take good care of her. But before he could act, Anai Yang had already handled it. She didn't need anyone's help. She alone was enough to protect her loved ones. Wang Ziki swallowed hard. My junior sister is really amazing. Soon, the car stopped at the entrance of the delightful restaurant. During this time, Master Du occasionally came to this restaurant just because the food was delicious. Wang Ziki opened the car door. Master Du put on a black hat and got out of the car, bending forward. Wang Ziki followed closely. Just then, a figure ran from the side and accidentally bumped into Master Du. It was an 8 or 9-year-old boy who was also frightened, sitting on the ground with his face pale, looking up at Master Du, almost crying. Whose child are you? Why are you so clumsy? Wang Ziki scolded. Wang Ziki was tall and striking, with brows like knife slashes, and his frowning, stern look terrified the little boy, making him burst into tears. I'm sorry. A 17 or 18-year-old girl ran over from the side. My little brother is young and clueless, he accidentally bumped into you. Big sister. The little boy quickly hid behind her. Erlong, I've told you before to be careful when walking, not to run, and yet you treat my words as nothing. Now apologize to these two uncles immediately. This little boy was indeed Wu Erlong, and the young girl was Wu Yinyun. Under Ni Yang's guidance, the construction business run by Wu Jinshu and Yen Erju, husband and wife, was doing quite well. Life was getting better. Wu Erlong, timid by nature, just knew to cover his face and cry, not daring to apologize. Left with no choice, Wu Yinyun had to apologize to Master Du. Sir, I'm really sorry. My little brother knows he's wrong, please forgive him. Only then did Master Du really look at Wu Yinyun. The girl was quite striking, and her demeanor impressive, reminding him immediately of Ni Yang. But if it were Ni Yang, she definitely wouldn't have handled it this way. She couldn't stand to apologize for others. Master Du didn't know why he was so certain that Ni Yang wouldn't do such a thing, but he was thoroughly convinced of it. Let it be, Master Du said slowly. Ziki, let's go. That voice, it sounds familiar, thought Wu Yinyun, looking up just in time to see Master Du's profile. His refined appearance revealed a hint of sharpness. Wasn't this the man who gave her 100 yuan last time? Wu Yinyun had a good memory, she wouldn't have remembered wrong. Sir, please wait. Wu Yinyun called after Master Du. What is it? Wang Ziki stretched out his hand to stop Wu Yinyun. She moved past Wang Ziki, looking at Master Du. Sir, do you remember me? We've met before and you gave me 100 yuan. Could you tell me where you live so I can bring you the money from home? Now that her family was financially better off, Wu Yinyun wanted to return the 100 yuan to him. Otherwise, she felt like she owed someone something. I don't remember, Master Du said, playing with his Buddha beads. Chapter 909, Teaching You a Lesson. Yi had seen countless people in his life, so why would he waste time on a young girl he had only met once? He really didn't remember Wu Yinyun. Wu Yinyun continued, it was probably a little over 2 months ago, you were sitting in your car and had your driver give me 100 yuan, don't you remember? Yi frowned and thought for a moment. There seemed to be a faint impression. The last incident was my driver's fault, the money was compensation to you, you don't need to return it. Having said this, Yi turned his head to Wang Ziki. Let's go. Okay, Wang Ziki nodded. Wait. Wu Yinyun hurried to catch up with the two men's pace. 100 yuan might be less than a drop in the ocean for Yi, but to Wu Yinyun, it was a fortune. Before she hadn't encountered Yi, it would have been fine, but now that she couldn't just take 100 yuan from someone for nothing. Hearing this, Ye's face showed a hint of impatience. He held a high position and the last thing he lacked was the entanglement of women, and the thing he feared most was also the entanglement of women. Young lady, please don't follow our Mr. Du anymore. Wang Ziki noticed Ye's displeasure and quickly stepped in front of Wu Yinyun. Wu Yinyun was also a bit embarrassed. I just want to return the money to this gentleman, Wang Ziki continued. If you really want to return the money, then take this 100 yuan and give it to someone in need, that will count as having returned it. Can you make decisions for that gentleman? Wu Yinyun hesitated. Wang Ziki was somewhat speechless. This young girl looked young and pretty, but who would have thought she'd be so long-winded, almost as much as his own mother. Yi, twirling his Buddha beads, turned back to look at Wu Yinyun. Just do as he said. Okay, Wu Yinyun nodded. Yi and Wang Ziki walked straight inside. Wu Yinyun watched Ye's retreating figure. Her heart felt as if it had been hit by something, and ripples spread out in circles within her chest. An indescribable feeling. Not until Wang Ziki and Ye's figures had disappeared into the distance did Wu Yinyun turn around to walk back. Erlong, are you okay? I'm fine. Wu Erlong had been frightened, wiping away tears with his sleeve. Wu Yinyun squatted down and patted the dust off Wu Erlong. How many times have I told you, don't run when you walk, watch the road? Today it was those two gentlemen being reasonable. If you met someone not so reasonable or a frail elder, then you would be in deep trouble. Big sister, I know. Wu Erlong nodded, looking wronged. On the other side, Ni Yang brought Gooden to the Shangguan family. Old Madame Shangguan was watering the flowers in the garden. Even though the Shangguan family had many servants, the old lady still cut a solitary figure. Grandma. Hearing Ni Yang's voice, old Madame Shangguan's grip on the watering can paused. Today was Tuesday, normally Ni Yang would only come back on weekends. She must have heard wrong. Old Madame Shangguan continued to water the flowers. Grandma. It wasn't until Ni Yang with Gooden came to old Madame Shangguan that she realized this was not an illusion. Yang. Old Madame Shangguan dropped the water sprayer in excitement. Ni Yang reached out and hugged old Madame Shangguan. Grandma, I've missed you so much. Old people love to hear sweet nothings. Hearing this, old Madame Shangguan was overjoyed. And I Yang then said, "Oh, Grandma, this is Gooden. He also lives in Jinghua village. He's my good friend." Hearing this, Gooden was thrilled. He was only 12 this year, still a child in many people's eyes. How could adults and children be good friends? But Sister An Yang was different. She actually introduced him to others, saying that he was her good friend. He was Sister An Yang's good friend. Gooden was delighted beyond belief and quickly greeted old Madame Shangguan. "Hello, Grandma. And Gooden, my full name is Li Changsho, but you can just call me Gooden." "That's a good name, Gooden." Old Madame Shangguan laughed. "Come on, follow Grandma inside." They followed old Madame Shangguan into the villa of the Shangguan family. The Shangguan family's villa was beautifully decorated. But Gooden had already seen An Yang's house decorated and wasn't surprised now. After entering, old Madame Shangguan had a servant bring a bunch of delicious food. Gooden was a bit shy to reach out. An Yang grabbed a handful of teddy bear biscuits and stuffed them into Gooden's hand. "Gooden, no need to be reserved at Sister An Yang's house, just take whatever you want to eat." Chapter 9-10. Teach you how to be human. _2. Shangguan Grandma said with a smile, "Your sister An Yang is right, Gooden, don't be overly polite, take whatever you want to eat." "Thank you, Grandma." Shangguan Grandma continued, Yang, didn't your mom, your dad and little Yun come with you?" It was then that An Yang remembered the matter at hand and replied, "Grandma, I came to take you back with us to live together." "To live with you all?" Shangguan Grandma was taken aback. "Yes." An Yang nodded and added, "Grandma, now both my maternal grandparents have moved with us to Jinghua village, so my parents asked me to bring you over as well. It will be livelier with more people living together." Shangguan Grandma hesitated. Yang, I'm quite comfortable living here. Moving over to your place, wouldn't it be a bit inconvenient?" She really didn't want to trouble the younger generation. An Yang said with a smile, "There's no inconvenience at all, that's your home too. It's much livelier when everyone lives together. The cement road in our village is already fixed. Whenever you miss home you can just take a car back to visit. It's very convenient." Shangguan Grandma still hesitated. An Yang continued, "Grandma Yun has been talking about you these past days. If you move over you'll be able to see Yun every day. Also, you don't have to worry about my brother and sister Xiaoxi at all. There are so many rooms at home. When my brother and sister Xiaoxi come back for holidays, they can choose whichever room they want to stay in." An Yun was the youngest child in the family and the granddaughter Shangguan Grandma loved the most. After hearing what An Yang said, Shangguan Grandma immediately replied, all right. Then I'll move over. I'm going to make a call right now to inform Xiaoxiu and Xiaoxi. Oh right, and I need to tell your aunt too." As she spoke, Shangguan Grandma excitedly went off to make the calls to everyone. Not only did Shangguan Grandma inform Shangguan Su and Shangguan Shi, but she also called all her relatives, unable to stop smiling. "Oh, the kids are so filial. I said I wouldn't go but they insisted I come, it seems I really have to go." Though Shangguan Grandma was hesitant before going, she was very happy in the end. There isn't an elderly person who doesn't want to live with their own children. After notifying all her relatives and friends, Shangguan Grandma packed some clothes and daily necessities. As the three of them were getting ready to leave, Zhao Shen suddenly arrived with Zhao Zijuan. "Grandma." Zhao Zijuan rushed in from outside. "Sister An Yang, you're here too." An Yang introduced Gooden to Zhao Zijuan. Zhao Zijuan, a very outgoing child, said, "Hello Gooden, I'm Yang cousin, you can just call me Zijuan." Though Gooden had grown up in the countryside, he wasn't shy at all and confidently said, "Then you can just call me Gooden." The two kids quickly started playing together. Gooden said, "Zijuan, if you ever come to Sister An Yang's house to play, remember to come find me, he'll take you to my secret base." Kids in the countryside usually have their own secret bases. Zhao Zijuan first nodded, then as if he thought of something added, "But I don't know the way to your house?" Gooden said with a laugh, "You can ask Sister An Yang, she knows." While the children played outside, the three adults talked inside. Although Zhao Shen and Shangguan Furong had already divorced, whenever he had time he would bring Zhao Zijuan to the Shangguan family's home to see Shangguan Grandma. Even though Shangguan Furong had made it clear that there was no possibility between them, De Hui still held hopes. "Mom, about Furong and me, could you please talk to Furong again?" Shangguan Grandma sighed, "You young people, you don't cherish what you have when you have it, and now that you've lost it, you realize and regret. But where in this world can you find a regret medicine? I really know I was wrong." Zhao Shen also felt regret, but it was pointless now. Shangguan Grandma continued, "I've already talked to Furong. It was useless, she's made up her mind this time. Zhao Shen, you're still young, you should quickly find someone else while you can. But let me say this first, the person must be kind-hearted, not like last time. Shangguan grandma wasn't one to overlook sensibility, she wouldn't force Zhao Shen to never remarry. Chapter 9-11. Teach you how to behave. _3. Since Shangguan Furong and he no longer had a chance, it was better for Zhao Shen to find someone new early on. After all, he was bound to remarry sooner or later. To let him remarry? Upon hearing this, Zhao Shen's heart skipped a beat and he said to old lady Shangguan, Mom, could it be that Furong has already? Could it be that Shangguan Furong had found someone in such a short time? Old lady Shangguan understood what Zhao Shen was implying and shook her head. Furong comes back only once a month now. I'm not very clear about her personal affairs. I'm just saying that you should find someone new sooner. Shangguan Furong took Zhao Ziqing to Hetian City next door, sometimes not even returning once a month. Old lady Shangguan really didn't understand her personal affairs, but knowing Furong's personality, she probably wouldn't find someone else so quickly. Hearing this, Zhao Shen breathed a sigh of relief. Old lady Shangguan continued, By the way, how has your mother been recently? Zhao Shen nodded, My mom is very well now, you don't need to worry. That's good. Zhao Shen turned to look at Anai Yang and asked, Did Yang Yang come today to take your grandma to Jinghua village? Anai Yang nodded, Yes. The countryside has good air, suitable for the elderly. Zhao Shen made some small talk before getting to the point. Yang Yang, your aunt listens to you the most now. Could you help me persuade her? I really regret it, I know I was wrong, and as long as she is willing to give me another chance, I'll do whatever she asks. Since the series of events, Anai Yang's position in Shangguan Furong's heart was different. Whatever Anai Yang said, she would certainly listen. Anai Yang smiled slightly and said tactfully, Uncle, I'm flattered that you think so highly of me, but I might disappoint you. I'm still a child after all. It may not be appropriate for me to interfere with you and Auntie's affairs. Anai Yang really didn't want to get involved in this matter. Because Zhao Shen made a mistake that no woman in the world would forgive. Whether to forgive Zhao Shen and get back together with him was something for Shangguan Furong to consider on her own. Outsiders shouldn't forcefully interfere. Zhao Shen was a clever man. He understood the subtext of Anai Yang's words and sighed, Okay Yang Yang, I understand. After sitting at the Shangguan family's home for a while, Zhao Shen bid farewell to old lady Shangguan. Anai Yang said, Uncle, even though you and Auntie are divorced now, we're still relatives. Zijuan is still Grandma's grandchild, and I am still Zijin's cousin. If you have time, remember to take Zijuan to Jinghua village for a visit, as Grandma is going to be staying there regularly from now on. Zhao Shen nodded, Okay Yang Yang, I got it. After Zhao Shen left with Zhao Zijuan, Anai Yang also took old lady Shangguan and Guden back to the village. The car played the operas old lady Shangguan loved to hear. The elderly woman smiled all the way there. When they got back to Jinghua village, it was already after 3 in the afternoon. The house had already been nearly put in order by Anai Tsuehua and Shangguan Dehui. Considering the elderly's mobility issues, Anai Tsuehua and Shangguan Dehui decided to arrange the first floor room for the 3 seniors. The 3 seniors naturally had no objections. When Anai Chingue came back in the evening and saw that Anai Tsuehua and the others had returned, he couldn't have been happier. He hugged Anai Tsuehua excitedly, Oh Yang Yang's mom, you're back. You have no idea how boring it was without your family around. Even the food didn't taste as good as before. Anai Tsuehua laughed and said, Then tonight you must eat a few more bowls. Certainly will, Anai Chingue said, Yang Yang's mom, it's been such a long time since I've had your cooking. Anai Tsuehua continued, Sister Chingue, what do you want to eat tonight? I'll cook anything for you. Anai Chingue listed 3 dishes she wanted. After the dishes were ready that evening, Anai Tsuehua served a separate portion of each dish for Anai Yang to take to Granny Lu. The weather wasn't good that night, with dark clouds covering the moon and stars, making everything pitch dark. Thanks to Anai Yang's good eyesight, she could still see where she was going. Anai Yang touched her chin, pondering whether it might be time to install some street lamps along the road. But at that time, solar street lamps still didn't exist. The street lamps being installed were manually controlled. They weren't turned on one by one. Instead, pushing up the main switch easily did the job. While walking, Anai Yang thought about this, and by the time she arrived at Granny Liu's house, Granny Liu was already having dinner. Chapter 9-12. Teach you how to behave. _4. The elderly woman's dinner was very simple. Cornbread with white rice porridge and a bowl of pickled vegetables. Grandma Lu am here. Grandma Lu was getting on in years, and her hearing had been gradually declining until Ni Yang approached her. Only then did she notice Ni Yang. Yang Yang's here. When did you get back, Yang Yang? Ni Yang said loudly, Grandma Lu, I got home this morning. Grandma Lu nodded and continued, did your parents come back with you? They came back and my maternal grandparents and grandma came along too. That's good, that's good. It's more lively when the family is together. Grandma Lu took Ni Yang's hand and had her sit down. Ni Yang took the food out of the basket. Grandma Lu, this is what my mom sent over for you, just taken out of the pot, eat it while it's hot. Grandma Lu smiled and said, your mom is too kind. What is this, let me taste. Ah, your mom's cooking skills are getting better and better. The flavor of this dish is indescribable. Ni Yang went on, Grandma Lu, now that my maternal grandparents and I have moved over, why don't you move in and live with us? Because she had grown fond of Grandma Lu, and Grandma Lu had no children of her own nor any relatives or friends, Ni Yang had previously invited Grandma Lu to stay at their house. But Grandma Lu had refused. No matter what, she didn't want to go. This time Ni Yang brought it up again, but Grandma Lu still refused. No, I'm quite happy living here. A golden nest, a silver nest is not as good as one's own doghouse. Yang Yang, no need to mention it again. After chatting with Grandma Lu for a while, Ni Yang left. After Ni Yang had gone, Grandma Liu's courtyard returned to its previous quiet state. Ni Yang looked back at the little house enveloped by the night and silently made up her mind about something. Since Grandma Lu didn't want to move in, she would find a way to make Grandma Liu's home more lively. The next day, the village air was really good. If it hadn't been for Duo, who had smelled bad all morning, flying to Ni Yang's bedside and squawking, Ni Yang could have slept for another 2 hours. Duo, what are you squawking about? Ni Yang got dressed and went down from the bed. Get up. Duo said, I'm hungry. Ni Yang smiled helplessly. It turned out this little guy was hungry. She took a handful of bird food she brought back from abroad and put it on the coffee table. You can't even catch bugs. You stupid bird. Duo was too busy eating to pay attention to Ni Yang. Ni Yang went to freshen up in the bathroom. She had personally designed the house for convenience. Nearly every room had a bathroom. After freshening up, she went downstairs just in time for breakfast. In the dining room, old Madame Shengguan and old Madame Zheng were eating breakfast and chatting. Good morning, Grandma. Good morning, Grandmother. Ni Yang grabbed a bun casually. Where's Grandpa? Old Madame Zheng said, your grandpa went out with Yun, probably for a walk. The villagers didn't recognize Mr. Zheng, but they all knew little Ni Yun. Going out with little Ni Yun was like walking with a living signboard. Plus, little Ni Yun had a built-in sense of direction. Although she was young, she was smart. After breakfast, Ni Yang rode her bike to the city. She was going to check the accounts of various stores. Because there were many stores, it took a whole day and she still hadn't finished. Not until the third day around 11 in the morning did Ni Yang finish checking all the accounts. After doing the accounts, Ni Yang bought some things and went to visit Xiaozhou, who had played a crucial role in clearing up the situation. As soon as Xiaozhou saw Ni Yang coming with so many things, he was immediately delighted and said with concern, Brother Yang, this is too kind of you. He'll feel embarrassed. While saying he was embarrassed, Xiaozhou kept carrying the things inside. Ni Yang joked, your skin is thicker than a city wall's corner, and you know how to feel embarrassed? Is that how you compliment someone? Xiaozhou pushed Ni Yang lightly and then asked, by the way, with such a big event at your house, are you okay? Ni Yang raised an eyebrow slightly. Your brother Yang is so capable, what could possibly go wrong? Xiaozhou continued, how's your family? While Xiaozhou was a detective, he didn't investigate every single matter. If he had to look into everything, how much effort would that take? Ni Yang succinctly told about the fate of Zheng Lingling, Sun Wu, and Zheng Xianjing's family of 3. Chapter 9:13. Teach you how to behave. _5. Xiaozhou said, what goes around comes around. By the way, how is your aunt? Her mental health wasn't good to begin with. Did this incident not totally devastate her? Having lost her only child, kept in the dark, and nearly causing the death of her own grandniece, anyone would probably find it hard to cope with such blows. Ni Yang sighed. My aunt became a nun. Really? Xiaozhou was somewhat surprised. Ni Yang nodded. Yes, she's now at Baiyin Temple. Xiaozhou continued, is she doing this to atone for her past? Perhaps, Ni Yang said. If she hadn't been manipulated and had spoken up earlier, perhaps that child would not have died, and so many things wouldn't have happened. Xiaozhou nodded. That makes sense. Departing from Xiaoza's place, Ai Yang made another trip to the department store. She wanted to buy a television for Grandma Lu. It was already 1985, and color TVs were available, though quite expensive, costing over 3,000 yuan each. Ordinary families could hardly afford them. Thus, at this time, if a family in the village bought a TV, they would become the most popular household, because everyone would bring their bowls to watch TV during mealtime at their home, which helped alleviate Grandma Liu's loneliness. Since she had decided to buy a TV for Grandma Lu, it had to be a color one. Ai Yang paid without hesitation and even added an extra 10 yuan for delivery. The shopkeeper was stunned. He initially thought Ai Yang was just browsing, but she didn't haggle and spent 3,000 yuan outright. From that moment on, the shopkeeper saw Ai Yang in a new light. After paying and arranging the delivery time with the shopkeeper, Ai Yang headed to the third floor's clothing city, planning to buy some clothes. Ai Yang picked several cheongsams and was about to pay when she spotted a light blue embroidered cheongsam. Please get that one down for me, Ai Yang turned to the sales associate. Of course, the associate nodded. Just then a pair of hands reached out before the sales associate and took the cheongsam. I saw this cheongsam first. Ai Yang looked up and saw a young woman in her 20s with healthy wheat-colored skin and well-defined features, not looking like someone from Beijing. Judging by her accent, she seemed to be from Bay Island. The relationship between China and Bay Island had entered a new historical phase on New Year's Day 1979, with friendly interactions and the cessation of all hostilities. So, it wasn't strange to see someone from Bay Island in Beijing. Since the woman had grabbed the cheongsam first, Ai Yang didn't say much, just smiled gently at the young woman and then turned to the sales associate. Let's go to the cashier. Sure, the associate nodded, thankful to have met a reasonable customer today. Dealing with difficult customers could have caused a scene. Please follow me. Hello, that will be 450 yuan in total. 6 cheongsams, all made of real silk, and together only costing a bit over 400 yuan. Such a price would be quite reasonable in later times. Ai Yang took out the money from her purse and handed it to the sales associate, revealing a pale, smooth wrist and a translucent droplet-like jade bracelet as she moved. Under the lights, the jade bracelet cast a cool glow. At that moment, the young woman with the light blue cheongsam came over to pay, and she noticed the bracelet. That bracelet is gorgeous. It would look even more beautiful on her. Wait. The young woman narrowed her eyes. Wait, why does that bracelet look familiar? It seemed like she had seen it before. Yes, she remembered. She had seen this bracelet in old family photos at home. Hey, where did you get this bracelet from? The young woman approached Ai Yang, her tone somewhat aggressive. Judging by how Ai Yang had spent just over 400 yuan on several cheongsams, she didn't seem like someone who could afford such an expensive bracelet. And this bracelet was a family heirloom. Could it be stolen? The young woman narrowed her eyes. Seeing the hostility in the young woman's eyes, Ai Yang frowned slightly. This really isn't any of your concern. Since the other party was hostile, there was no need for her to be overly friendly. After all, she wasn't a masochist who enjoyed self-harm. Chapter 9:14. Teach you how to behave. _6. You have no manners at all, do you? The young woman angrily said. Is this how everyone from Beijing answers questions? Born into a family of privilege, she had always been looked up to, constantly showered with compliments, and this was her first time encountering someone like Ai Yang, who was such a thorn in her side. Ai Yang slightly raised her eyebrows, retorted, Comrade, do you even know what manners means? If you're so mannerly, is this the attitude you use to ask questions of others? Yo. How can you speak like that? The young woman was about to explode with anger. This brash young girl had no sense at all. How dare she be so insolent? Would anyone dare to do this to her on Taiwan Island? Ai Yang shrugged slightly. I speak just like this, what's the matter? Do you have a problem? After speaking, she continued, even if you have an issue, keep it to yourself. Am not your mother, why should I pander to you? Having said this, Ai Yang picked up her clothes and turned to leave. As she turned, her black hair traced a perfect arc through the air, exuding an air of authority and beauty, extremely eye-catching. The young woman, now seething with rage, immediately followed and grabbed Ai Yang by the wrist. You vile girl, you're not going anywhere. Ai Yang glanced back with a slight curl of her red lips. Let go. 2 softly spoken words, yet they carried a chill. Vile girl? You can't leave. Tell me, where did you get that bracelet? Not letting go, huh? Ai Yang smiled. then don't regret it later. Since no one in your family taught you how to behave, I suppose I'll reluctantly step in." Having said that, Yang slowly withdrew her hand. She seemed not to use much strength, yet the young woman couldn't muster any resistance. Bang! Due to the sudden inertia, she lost her balance and fell hard to the ground in unbearable pain. Yang looked down at her, lightly dusted off her hands. "Beijing isn't your home, nor is it a place for you to throw your weight around as a spoiled rich girl. If you bother me again, consider the consequences." Unable to best Yang in a fight, the young woman waited until Yang's figure disappeared at the entrance before she dared to curse loudly. "Ah! It hurts so much. Vile girl. Vile girl. They'll kill you." Miss, are you all right?" Seeing the commotion, a servant who had come with her immediately ran over. The young woman's features were twisted in anger. "I'm so furious. That vile girl. Why didn't you come over just now?" "Sorry miss, I didn't see what happened." "Useless." The young woman slapped the servant, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a 100 renminbi note. "Take this money and buy some medicine. Nowadays, everyone is equal and servants have rights. Employers can't just beat them as they please." "But money can solve anything." The servant took the money and caught up with the young woman. "Miss, wait for me." As long as the pay was right, even getting beaten up 100 times a day wouldn't matter. And this was 100 yuan, equivalent to 3 months of her salary. The young woman ran outside the mall, but Yang was nowhere to be seen. Fuming, she got into a sedan and slammed the car door shut. "Back to the mansion." "Okay." Seeing her so angry, the driver subconsciously shrank his neck. The young lady was not an easy one to please. The small sedan sped all the way to a very luxurious mansion and stopped in front. The young woman ran inside crying, Brother, someone's bullying me." "Oh, who dares to bully my precious little sister?" A man, around 25 or 26 years old, walked out from the house. He was Lu Qi, and the crying person was his sister, Lu Ru. Because of work, their family of 3 had moved from Taiwan Island to Beijing, and they had already been in Beijing for over a month. Lu Ru said angrily, "Some lowly girl. She said I have no manners and even dared to talk back to me. It's just too uncultured. Brother, you must help me get revenge. Catch that lowly girl and teach her a lesson." Lu Ru had never been so infuriated in all the time she had been in Beijing. She wished she could kill Yang. Lu Qi sighed, "Xiaoru, this isn't Bay Island and it's not our home. I've told you before, you need to restrain yourself. If you cause trouble here, no one can clean up your mess." Lu Ru was his own sister. He knew Lu Ru all too well. Chances were, today's incident was mostly Lu Ru's doing. Lu Ru had originally expected Lu Qi to vent her frustration, but instead, Lu Qi turned around and blamed her, which made her even angrier. "Are you even my real brother? I'm not talking to you anymore. I'm going to find Dad." Lu Qi could only shake his head helplessly. Lu Ru stormed off towards Father Liu's room. Inside the room, the young mother Lu was giving Father Liu a massage. Lu Ru's sudden entrance took the couple by surprise. Mother Lu frowned and said, "Child, how can you come in without knocking?" Lu Ru went straight to Father Lu, hugged his neck and started to coo and complain. She briefly explained what had happened. Dad, you must stand up for me. That lowly girl was just too hateful." Father Lu was approaching his late 70s this year, and Lu Ru was only 20 years old. As a late-life daughter, he doted on her especially, fulfilling almost her every wish, and smiled, saying, There, Dad will get your revenge. Xiaoru, don't be angry anymore. A girl looks worst when crying." Mother Lu laughed. "These girls in Beijing just don't have the discernment. They don't even see whose daughter you are to dare provoke you. Xiaoru, just wait, your dad will surely get revenge for you." Father Lu was almost 80 this year, but Mother Lu was only in her 50s, and she kept herself well maintained, looking almost like someone in their 30s or 40s, with a particularly elegant air and a pretty face. Lu Ru inherited her skin from Father Lu, and her looks from Mother Lu. Seeing both parents on her side, Lu Ru was overjoyed and added, "Right, I also saw that bracelet on that lowly girl's wrist." "What bracelet?" Father Lu asked. "The bracelet from that old photo. That bracelet is really pretty. It looks so much better than in the photo." At the end of her statement, Lu Ru's eyes lit up. "Dad, my grandaunt must still be alive. Can't we find her soon?" Before Father Lu could speak, Mother Lu was beside herself with excitement, grabbing Lu Ru's arm. "Xiaoru, did you really see it? That means your grandaunt is still alive." "Really?" Lu Ru nodded. "Mom, think about it, have I ever misjudged any fine thing I've seen? Would I make a mistake? Father Lu frowned and then said, but there's always a bit of a discrepancy between a photo and the real thing. How do you know that bracelet was your grandaunt's? Chapter 9:15. This is too amazing. Lu father always felt there was something fishy about this matter without seeing the actual item. How could it be such a coincidence that they had just arrived in Beijing and already seen that bracelet? Dad. How could I possibly have seen it wrong? Lu Ru shook Lu father. Dad, just believe me. That is definitely our family's heirloom. My aunt is now in Beijing. Let's go find her quickly. What did the young girl you saw look like? Lu father continued to ask. Does she resemble your aunt? How old is she approximately? Hearing this, Lu mother covered her mouth in surprise. Could it be that she remarried? Lu father furrowed his brows slightly. Based on my understanding of her, she's not the type to remarry casually, but you can never be too sure about these things. It had been so many years, and much had become a blur in Lu father's mind. After thinking hard, Lu Ru spoke. That despicable girl seemed about 18 or 19, pretty okay looking, I guess. But I feel she doesn't look like my aunt when she was younger. Lu Ru was very vain, always considering herself the world's #1 beauty. There truly weren't many people who could gain her approval of being okay looking. Hearing her say this, Lu parents knew that the young girl must be exceptionally attractive. 18 or 19? Lu mother said with a smile. Your aunt is about the same age as your dad this year. She couldn't possibly have a daughter that young. Women are different from men. Women go through menopause around the age of 50, after which they can no longer have children. As long as a man is physically strong, even at 80 or 90, he still has the ability to father children. Right? Are there any relatives left on her mother's side? Lu mother nudged Lu father with her elbow. Relatives? Lu father scratched his head, then said, in that era, even if she had a few relatives, I doubt they would have survived. A few decades earlier was the time for denouncing the bourgeois. Then who could that young girl be? Lu mother went on. Could it be that she fell on hard times and had to sell the bracelet? Sell? I think it's more likely she stole it, Lu Ru said, curling her lip. Lu father added, we can't jump to conclusions yet. By the way, Sharu, where does that young girl live? Let's go have a look now. In the years of denouncing the bourgeois, privately hoarding gold and jewelry was forbidden. Gold and jewelry were worth less than scrap metal. Back then, many people couldn't even trade a gold bar for a bowl of white rice, and if you were caught trading privately, you would be labeled a speculator. So, the likelihood of theft was not high. Although Lu father was old, he wasn't confused. I don't know where she lives, Lu Ru said. That worthless girl had no manners at all. Ask her one question and she'd explode like she'd swallowed gunpowder. She even pushed me to the ground. I've never seen such a person in my life. If she had been on Bay Island, she wouldn't have gotten away with it. If it were on Bay Island, who would dare provoke her? Only someone with a death wish. Lu father continued, it could also be a relative from her family. She's alone now, getting on in years, so it wouldn't be strange for her to have given the items to a family member. Right, Sharu, you need to change this temperament of yours. Don't just throw around accusations calling everyone a despicable girl. If that bracelet really belongs to your aunt, then she's our relative. As he finished, Lu father also warned, besides, this is Beijing, which is different from our Bay Island. If you truly offend some noble person, even I might not be able to protect you. Taiwan Island is just a small island. But this is Beijing. The total area of Bay Island is about the same size as Beijing, but Beijing is only 1% of China. 100 Bay Islands cannot compare to one China. So, it's necessary to keep a low profile when the time calls for it. I know, Lu Ru replied nonchalantly and then said, Dad, since we're sure that Aunt is in Beijing, let's hurry and find her. She'll definitely be so happy to see us. Lu father did not speak. Lu mother said, Exactly. Sharu, you're right, we need to find your aunt as soon as possible. Lu Ru went on, Dad, would you be able to give me that bracelet when the time comes? She had taken a liking to the beautiful bracelet at first glance. Lu mother said with a smile, Of course, we'll give it to you. Your dad and I have only you for a daughter. Who else would we give it to if not you? Chapter 9:16. This is too amazing. _2. That's wonderful. Lu Ru was overjoyed, hugging her mother tightly. Mom, thank you. I love you. The mother and daughter were ecstatic, but the expression on Lu Ru's father's face was somewhat heavy. After lunch, Lu Ru's mother hailed a cab and went out on her own. Soon, the car stopped next to an ordinary residential area. Standing in front of the residential area, Lu Russ' mother was filled with deep emotion. The area had changed so much over the decades. She took a piece of paper out of her pocket and, following the address on it, arrived at the second floor. Room 206, this should be the place, she muttered, looking around before knocking on the door. But after knocking for a long time, there was no response. What's going on? Lu Russ' mother frowned slightly and raised her voice. Is anyone there? Is anyone there? Instead of the door she was knocking on, the neighbor's door at 207 opened. Comrade, who are you looking for? Feeling a bit embarrassed, Lu Russ' mother said, I'm looking for someone who lives here. By the way, does a doctor with the surname Jiang live here? Are you here to see a doctor? The neighbor scratched his head, looking at Lu Russ' mother. You look quite similar to Dr. Jiang. Are you related? No, Lu Russ' mother quickly denied. I have no family connection with her. I've heard that she has incredible medical skills and has cured many difficult diseases, so I came to seek her treatment. I see, the neighbor nodded, then added, Dr. Jiang hasn't been around for quite a long time. We have no idea where she went. In this era, communication was not well developed, and there was no internet. Since Dr. Jiang was not arrested here, the neighbors had no idea she had been jailed, let alone that she had been executed. Lu Russ' mother frowned slightly, then continued, How long has it been since you last saw her? After thinking for a moment, the neighbor replied, About a month, I guess. A month? That was exactly when they had arrived in Beijing. They had just come here and hadn't settled down yet, so she hadn't come to find Dr. Jiang right away. As she spoke, the neighbor continued, It's odd. When Dr. Jiang was living here, her nephew used to visit her often. But it's been a long time since he last came, and Dr. Jiang is getting on in years, so maybe her nephew took her to live with him and enjoy her old age. Without further conversation, Lu Russ' mother thanked the neighbor and then turned to leave. Had Dr. Jiang really been taken away by her nephew to enjoy her old age? Lu Russ' mother sighed, glancing back at the direction of the residential building, her face filled with worries. Where on earth could she have gone? On the way back, Lu Russ' mother noticed a detective agency and walked in. Jiang Yin. Xiaozi's face changed slightly when he saw who Lu Russ' mother was looking for. Yes, Lu Russ' mother nodded. Could you please investigate where she is now for me? Money is not an issue, I just want to find the person. Then you'll need to pay an 800 yuan deposit first, Xiaozhou said. Lu Russ' mother took out a stack of money from her bag and placed it on the table. May I ask when you will have the results? Smiling, Xiaozhou replied, Our agency is very efficient. Come back tomorrow morning and there will be news. Lu Russ' mother nodded. All right, I'll come back tomorrow morning. Leaving the detective agency, Lu Russ' mother still looked rather troubled, an ominous feeling lurking in her heart. Looking through the glass window at Lu Russ' mother's retreating figure, Xiaozhou narrowed his eyes slightly. When Ni Yang returned to Jinghua village, it was already past 12 p.m. She had arranged with the boss selling televisions that he would deliver the TV at 1 o'clock. Seeing that it was about time, Ni Yang set off for Grandma Liu's place. Sister. Little Ni Yin suddenly called out to Ni Yang. Yun. Ni Yang looked back gently and saw little Ni Yun holding a small bucket in one hand and a toy shovel in the other, her tender little face spotted with mud, smiling sweetly at Ni Yang. Grandpa, what are you doing? Ni Yang then asked. Old Master Zheng smiled and replied, I'm thinking of clearing this empty space out here and then planting some flowers. Old Master Zheng was a gardening enthusiast who loved planting flowers. The village had plenty of space perfect for him. He saw a vacant plot next to the house and, not wanting it to go to waste, decided to turn it into a flower garden. He also planned to dig a little fish pond so he could enjoy some fishing in his spare time. Ni Yang nodded, then added, If you need any help, just call me. I'm heading over to Grandma Liu's for a bit. Chapter 917. This is too amazing. _3. Upon hearing this, little Ni Yin quickly threw away the small shovel and patted his chest, saying, Sister, I can help Grandpa. I'm really great. Elder Zheng laughed and said, Yes, Yun can help me, Yang, you don't need to worry about me anymore. Go ahead and do your thing. Ni Yang arrived at Grandma Liu's house. Grandma Liu was bathing her cat on the balcony. At the time, it was rare in the countryside for people to bathe their cats, but Grandma Liu was such a particular person. Due to her aristocratic birth, she always carried an inherent dignity. Even though she was down on her luck now, that dignity was still preserved. Meow meow meow. Grandma Liu had not yet seen Ni Yang. It was the little cat that saw her first. Yang is here. Seeing Ni Yang, Grandma Liu smiled happily. Grandma Lu, you're bathing Depang. Depang was a Chinese orange tabby cat, known for being particularly plump. Depang's plumpness was partly due to the food, as Grandma Lu would even save the food she herself was reluctant to eat for Depang. Depang was not only fat but also very intelligent, which was why Grandma Lu particularly adored him. Grandma Lu smiled and nodded. Yes, it's been several days since Depang last bathed, and it's almost getting infested with bugs. They were chatting when a blue farm vehicle stopped at the doorstep, and a middle-aged man jumped down from the vehicle and shouted, "Comrade, is the television to be delivered here?" "Yes," and I Young walked over. "Please help bring it inside." "All right." Two men lifted the 18-inch television and followed I Young into the house. Grandma Lu was startled. Yang, what is this about?" I Young smiled and said, "It's like this, Grandma Lu, I won a television from a purchase today, but we already have one at home, so I brought this one over for you so you can watch it when you're bored." Afraid that Grandma Lu might reprimand her for frivolous spending and worried that Grandma Lu might refuse to accept it, I Young said the television was a prize. "You can win a television as a prize?" Grandma Lu was skeptical. "Really?" I Young nodded. "Grandma Lu, if you don't believe it, you can ask these two uncles." The two men carrying the television were sharp-witted and quickly smiled. "Old lady, this young comrade didn't deceive you. The television was indeed won. This young comrade is really lucky, it's so enviable." Grandma Lu continued, "Even if it was won as a prize, I still can't accept it. This television is expensive and you could sell it for quite a lot of money. Old lady, this is also a token of your granddaughter's filial piety. Please accept it." I Young quickly interjected, "Grandma Lu, I really treat you like my own grandmother and you've been so good to me. If you don't accept this television, I won't come to your house to chat next time." Fearful that Grandma Lu might continue to refuse, I Young added, "And when you gave me this bracelet last time, I didn't refuse, did I? Truthfully speaking, this bracelet is worth much more than the television." "You child." All right, I'll accept it," Grandma Lu said helplessly with a smile. "Comrade, do you think placing the television here would be okay?" one of the movers asked, pointing to a long table in front of the living room. In the countryside, almost every household has a long table in front of the living room. It's not exactly called a table. In some places it's referred to as a coffee table, though it's different from a typical coffee table, and in other areas, it's called a console table. The table is usually used to hold clocks, vases and other ornaments. "That's fine," I Young nodded. The two men placed the television on the long table, connected the power, and colorful images immediately appeared on the screen. At that moment, the popular TV series Travels of the Prowess Shadow was playing on the television. Grandma Lu exclaimed, "People nowadays are really capable, managing to squeeze humans into such a small, square box like this. Who would have dared to imagine this in the past?" I Young nodded, "Yes." Then I Young taught Grandma Lu how to operate the television. Although Grandma Lu was elderly, her responses were not dull, and though her hearing was occasionally poor, her mind was sharp and she quickly learned. With the television now there, the once somewhat quiet courtyard immediately became lively. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.